Good morning, my dear friend. The air before sunrise carries a kind of silence that words can barely hold. The world has not yet awakened to its noise or demands. The sky is still deciding between darkness and light. You can almost hear the soft breath of the earth, a gentle invitation to pause. In this sacred hush, something within you begins to stir the small, quiet voice that has been waiting for space to speak. This is not just another morning. It is a threshold, a doorway between what was and what could yet be. Maybe you are here because sleep has been thin lately. Perhaps your thoughts circle endlessly around loss, regret, or uncertainty. There was a time when you carried hope easily, when laughter came without effort, when the future looked like an open field. But somewhere along the way, life pressed heavier. Maybe you lost someone you loved. Maybe a dream you worked for dissolved before your eyes. Or maybe the pain is quieter than that, a daily ache that no one sees. A restlessness that rises even when everything around you seems fine. Whatever form your struggle takes, it has brought you here, to this morning, to this still moment before the world awakens. I once knew someone who woke every day at 4 not because they wanted to, but because fear had become their alarm clock. They would lie there, listening to the ticking of time, wondering if peace was something they would ever feel again. Then one morning, without planning it, they whispered a few words, not elegant ones, not memorized prayers, just a raw, trembling sentence. If you are there, please stay with me. It was small, almost too small to matter. But that whisper became the beginning of healing. Each dawn after, they whispered again, until fear lost its place, and peace began to rise like light over the horizon. Their world did not change overnight, but something inside them did. The morning became holy ground, a meeting place between pain and promise. That is what these early hours can become for you, too. You do not need perfect words. You do not need a spotless past or unshakable faith. You only need a heart willing to open. The same God who shaped the sunrise waits to shape your soul with light. The same one who paints the sky with color can wash away the gray within you. Every new dawn is proof that night is never final. The darkness does not win. It only makes the light more beautiful when it comes. This journey of prayer that lies ahead is not about performance or ritual. It is about relationship. It is a return, a gentle turning back toward the one who never left. These 24 chapters that you will walk through are more than words. They are steps along a sacred path. Each one is a breath, a heartbeat, conversation that grows deeper as you go. You will begin in vulnerability, but you will end in strength. You will confront fear, but you will also witness faith rise like the morning sun. You will learn that prayer is not an escape from reality, but a doorway into it, seen through the eyes of hope. So as the first light slips across the horizon, take a deep breath. Feel the cool air on your skin. Let the quiet fill you rather than frighten you. You are not alone in this dawn. Countless hearts across the world are whispering the same search for peace, the same longing to believe again. The early hour is a meeting place for those who dare to hope when others still sleep. In a moment, You will step into the first prayer, a dialogue between your soul and the divine. Let the words draw you in gently. Let them become your own. Do not rush, and do not measure yourself against perfection. Simply listen, respond, and breathe. The dawn belongs to those who seek it, and faith begins not in certainty, but in willingness. If you can whisper, "Here I am," then you are already halfway home. So, dear friend, welcome to the morning. Welcome to this sacred hour between night and day, between fear and faith, between who you were and who you are becoming. Let this be the moment you stop running from the silence and begin walking toward the light. The journey of prayer is waiting, and the God who never sleeps is already here. Dear Heavenly Father, in this quiet beginning of the day, when the air is still and the world has not yet awakened, I come to you. The night has carried its weight across my chest, and I have felt the heaviness of thoughts that never seem to rest. There have been hours when fear spoke louder than faith, when the silence felt empty instead of sacred, when I wondered if you still saw me beneath the shadows of my own heart. But here I am, at the edge of dawn, choosing to believe that you are near, choosing to believe that this morning is not just another hour, but an invitation to begin again with you. I lay before you everything I carried through the night, the worries that refused to fade, the memories that kept circling, the questions without answers. I place them here because I no longer want to hold them alone. You know how easily I try to control what I do not understand, how often I wake with clenched fists instead of open hands. Teach me, even now, what it means to surrender. Let this first breath of the morning be one of release. Let the darkness of the past hours fade beneath the gentle rise of your light. The sky outside my window is slowly shifting. There is a soft hint of gold brushing the horizon, a quiet reminder that light always returns, that same light. I ask, will you let it enter my soul, pierce through the fog that lingers around my mind, replace the confusion with clarity, the fear with peace, the numbness with warmth. I do not come asking for a perfect day, only for a heart that stays open in every moment of it. You see me when I wake wary. You understand the thoughts I cannot form into words. You know the battles that play out within me long before I recognize them myself. Sometimes I hide behind my strength, afraid to admit how fragile I feel. But you, Father, do not turn away from fragility. You hold it tenderly, as if weakness itself were an altar on which your love can rest. So I will not pretend this morning. I will simply be honest. I am tired of fighting for peace that only you can give. I remember what the psalmist wrote, that in the morning you hear my voice, and I lay my requests before you and wait expectantly. That waiting is hard, Lord. It feels like standing on the shore, looking for a sail that has not yet appeared. Yet I know that faith is built in the waiting, that trust grows not in the instant answer, but in the quiet assurance that you are still listening. So I will wait. I will breathe. I will believe that while I wait, you are already moving. The world beyond my door will soon stir with noise and demand, but before it does, I want to meet you here. I want your presence to steady me before anything else speaks. I want to remember that I am more than my schedule, more than my mistakes, more than the expectations that press in from every side. I am yours. That truth alone is enough to start this day. When I step into the morning, let me carry stillness with me. Let it live quietly beneath my words and actions. Let it guide the tone of my voice, the patience of my hands, the rhythm of my thoughts. When I am tempted to rush, remind me that peace moves slowly. When I am tempted to fear, whisper that I am covered by your love. When I am tempted to forget, draw me back to this sacred hour, this gentle meeting place where your mercy found me again. Dear Father, as light breaks across the sky, I think of how many times you have carried me through nights that seemed endless. There were seasons when I thought I would never rise again, and yet morning always came. That rhythm, the dying and the rising, the darkness giving way to light feels like the heartbeat of faith. It reminds me that no shadow lasts forever, that no silence is without purpose. Even in the hours when I felt unseen, you were there, writing redemption into the smallest details. So now I begin this day not with certainty, but with willingness. I am willing to see what you are doing, willing to trust what I do not yet understand, willing to love even when it costs, willing to forgive where it still hurts. Shape this willingness into courage. Let courage become joy. Let joy become strength. And let strength become quiet confidence that you are enough for every moment ahead. I do not know what this day will bring. I do not know how my heart will respond to its tests, but I know you. I know that you are kind. I know that you do not abandon. I know that your presence is not fragile like my emotions, but steady like the morning sun that rises whether or not I am watching. So I choose to watch. I choose to stay awake to your nearness. I choose to begin again, not in fear of failure, but in hope of grace. As I sit here in the half-light, I imagine you breathing life into all that waits to bloom: the trees, the sky, the quiet corners of my own soul. Each breath feels like a reminder that I am still here for a reason, that every sunrise is a promise, that the story is not finished. I open my hands to that promise. I open my heart to the gentle possibility that today could hold something holy, even in ordinary places. If faith is a seed, then let this prayer be the soil. If peace is a river, then let it begin to flow within me now. If love is light, let it rise slowly but surely, until it fills every shadow. And if hope is a song, then let my soul hum some softly along as the morning unfolds. Father, thank you for meeting me here at the threshold of a new day. Thank you for hearing even the smallest whisper of my heart. As the world awakens, help me walk through it with quiet strength, remembering that I began this morning in your presence, and that no moment from now until nightfall is beyond your reach. Let this be enough to begin, and enough to continue. Father, I wake again to the quiet light of morning, and my heart still trembles at how near you felt in the stillness before dawn. The first breath of this new day carries the echo of yesterday's surrender, but also a deeper stirring, a need to go further, to empty more completely, to open wider the doors of my soul. Father, I sense you inviting me not only to rest beneath your wings, but to let go of what has kept me distant, to name what I have hidden and place it into your hands without disguise. You know how easily I drift from you, how quickly the noise of the world drowns out the whisper of grace. There are moments I speak kindly but think harshly, moments I give outwardly but hold bitterness within. I remember the times I have chosen distraction over devotion, pride over peace, self-preservation over surrender. And yet, you remain steady, unchanging, patient as morning light spilling over the horizon. It is your kindness that draws me here again, not your anger. It is your mercy that pulls me toward honesty, not fear. So I begin this chapter, Father, with confession. I confess the impatience that flares too quickly, the envy that hides beneath my smiles, the doubt that lingers even after you have proven faithful. I confess the times I have prayed with my lips, but withheld my heart, the times I have carried guilt long after you offered forgiveness. These are the things that cloud the morning, the shadows that cling to my soul. I lay them here before you, not to earn your favor, but to live freely in the light of it. Wash me clean again. Teach me to believe that mercy is not a distant reward, but a daily gift. There is something holy about this hour of mourning, how it feels like the world itself is being forgiven. The air smells new, the colors soften. Even the earth seems to breathe differently, as if creation remembers that it is loved. I want to breathe like that too. Unburdened, unashamed, full of quiet trust. I want to live as one who has been forgiven, not as one who is always trying to deserve it. Father, help me understand that grace does not demand perfection. It only asks for surrender. When I think of the cross, I am reminded of how far your mercy reaches. It is not just a symbol of pain, but of restoration. It is not only where sin was punished, but where love was proven. Each time I picture it, I see a doorway, a passage from guilt into grace, from striving into stillness. This morning, I choose to walk through that doorway. I bring with me all that is weary, all that is wounded, all that still feels unfinished. I leave behind the idea that I must fix myself before I can be embraced. You do not wait for my perfection. You meet me in my brokenness and call it beloved. Sometimes, I wonder why you love so deeply those who wander so far. But then I remember that love is not who you choose to be. It is who you are. You cannot stop being merciful any more than the sun can stop shining. Even when clouds cover the sky, the light is still there, waiting to break through. That is how your compassion works. It keeps reaching, keeps warming, keeps waiting until I turn toward it again. This morning, I turn toward it fully. I no longer want to wear the heavy clothes of shame. I no longer want to speak from a heart half trusting. I want to feel the pulse of new life within me, the kind that flows when forgiveness is not only received but believed. Father, teach me to accept mercy as freely as you give it. Let it wash through the corners of my heart where resentment still hides. Let it soften the memories that sting. Let it reshape the words I speak to myself. I think of the man in Scripture who said simply, "Lord, have mercy on me." No elaborate phrases, no bargaining promises, just those few words, honest and raw. Perhaps that is what you long to hear most from us, truth unfiltered by pride, So I say it now, not as a formula, but as a lifeline. Have mercy on me. Father, not because I have earned it, but because I need it. Not because I fear punishment, but because I long for peace. In this prayer, I begin to feel something loosen the weight of self-condemnation that has kept my spirit bound. I realize that mercy is not only forgiveness for what I have done. It is healing for what I have become. It is the steady hand that lifts my chin when I cannot bear to look at myself. It is the quiet assurance that I am not beyond redemption. I breathe that truth in deeply, and I feel its warmth spread through me like morning sunlight touching cold ground. Father, if there are places in me that resist your kindness, uncover them. If there are habits that keep me from hearing your voice, break them gently. Replace my guilt with gratitude, my self-doubt with faith. Let your compassion become my rhythm, my reflex, my resting place. Let me extend to others the same mercy I receive here, so that my life becomes an echo of your grace, rather than an argument for my worth. As I sit here, the world outside grows brighter, but it is the light within that feels most alive. Forgiveness is rising like dawn, and I realize how much I needed this quiet honesty. Thank you, Father, for meeting me not with judgment, but with open arms. Thank you for showing me that confession is not defeat, but freedom. Thank you for reminding me that every morning is a new beginning, not because I have changed overnight, but because your mercy has never slept. I will carry this awareness into the hours ahead, when I am tempted to slip back into guilt. Remind me of this moment, when I start to doubt your patience. Remind me of the gentle way you have spoken today. Let mercy be the first language of my heart and the guiding tone of my day. Let it shape the way I look at others, the way I respond to pressure, the way I speak to those who fail me. Let me remember that I am forgiven, and therefore I can forgive. Father, as the morning unfolds, I sense that what you desire most is not my perfection, but my presence. So I will stay here in heart. Even as I go about the day, I will walk softly, aware that grace is all around me, that mercy follows every step, that love goes ahead of me like light leading through the mist. And as I breathe in this new air, I know that I am beginning again, not from strength, but from surrender, not from striving, but from your endless compassion. Father, as the light deepens and the sounds of morning begin to rise around me, I find myself still thinking about mercy. The quietness of your forgiveness has settled in my chest like a slow, steady rhythm, and now it turns into gratitude. There is peace in remembering. Father, peace in tracing the path that brought me here, in looking back over the valleys where you carried me, and the nights when I thought I would not make it through. Every scar tells a story, and behind each one I can see the evidence of your hand. When I look back, I realize how many times you have been faithful even when I was unaware. There were seasons when I thought I was walking alone, yet you were already making a way. I remember the moments when despair whispered that there was no hope left, but then something unexpected happened, a kind word, a door opening, a sudden calm that I could not explain. Those were not coincidences. They were small miracles disguised as ordinary grace. You were always near, even in the silence that felt like distance. Father, this morning I want to thank you for the memory of your goodness. It is easy to forget when the present feels heavy, when tomorrow still looks uncertain. But memory is a sacred gift, a thread that pulls me back to truth when doubt begins to rise. I remember the prayer I once whispered in fear, the one I thought you ignored, and how months later the answer came quietly. Perfectly timed. I remember the loss that broke me, and how you turned that emptiness into space for something new. I remember the times I thought I had failed beyond repair, and how you met me not with punishment, but with purpose. Each memory becomes a stone of remembrance, a testimony that your promises are not fragile, they endure every storm. There was a day, Father, when I almost gave up. I was tired of believing in what I could not see. I wanted signs and certainty. But you offered something better, your presence. You taught me that faith is not built in comfort, but in perseverance. That trust grows deepest when I am forced to lean on you completely. And now, looking back, I understand that every unanswered question was shaping me. Every delay was preparing me. Every closed door was redirection, not rejection. You were faithful in ways I only recognize now, standing on the other side of what once felt unbearable. Sometimes I wonder how many blessings I have already forgotten, how many times you protected me without my knowing, how many dangers you diverted, how many nights you stayed awake while I slept unaware of the battles fought on my behalf. It humbles me to realize that my gratitude will never be enough to match your goodness. But still, I want to give it freely. Thank you for the unseen mercies, for the quiet rescues, for the strength I did not know was being given. Thank you for being faithful, even when my faith faltered. Father, I also remember the faces of people you placed in my path, those who spoke encouragement when I was sinking, those who prayed for me when I could not pray for myself, those whose kindness reminded me of yours. They were instruments of grace, reflections of your heart. I see now that no act of compassion is random. It is the pulse of heaven moving through human hands. Let me never take such moments for granted. Let me, too, become a reminder for someone else that you are near. As I sit here, the sunlight grows stronger, filtering through the window in golden streaks. It feels like memory itself, warm, illuminating, gentle but unrelenting. Your faithfulness is like that. Father, reaching into every shadow of my story, even the parts I wish I could forget, are touched by your mercy. You do not erase my past. You redeem it. You weave together the threads of failure and triumph until they form something whole. Something beautiful. Help me carry this awareness into today. When discouragement tries to return, remind me of what you have already done. When fear whispers that the future is uncertain, teach me to answer with remembrance. I can say with confidence that the same God who sustained then will sustain me now. Your record is perfect. Not once have you failed. Not once have you broken a promise. And even when I questioned your timing, you were already working in ways I could not see. I think of how travelers once marked the places where you helped them, building altars of stone so they would not forget. Perhaps these words are my altar, each sentence a stone, each memory a testimony. They remind me that gratitude is not just a feeling. It is a discipline, a way of seeing the world through the lens of grace. I do not want to live forgetfully, chasing new blessings while ignoring the ones already given. Let my heart stay anchored in remembrance so that I can walk with steady faith no matter what unfolds ahead. Father, I thank you for teaching me that remembrance is not nostalgia, it is strength. To remember is to see the pattern of your love running through the years, connecting the broken pieces into something whole. It gives courage for what is yet to come. When I remember, I find that hope rises quietly, not as a sudden shout, but as a steady hum that fills the background of my soul. It tells me that if you were faithful yesterday, you will be faithful tomorrow, and even the waiting will be holy in its own way. As the day stretches before me, I choose to walk in the light of all you have already done. I will look for your fingerprints in small things, the laughter that surprises me, the peace that arrives without reason, the kindness that interrupts the ordinary. These are reminders that you are still here, still faithful, still writing stories of grace through lives like mine. I will no longer ask only for new miracles. I will celebrate the ones that have already come. Father, thank you for the sacred gift of memory, for allowing me to see the mosaic of your mercy laid across the landscape of my life. Let gratitude shape my words, my choices, and my posture today. Let remembrance keep me tender, humble, and expectant. For even as I step forward into what I cannot yet see, I do so holding the evidence of your faithfulness behind me. And that is enough. Father, as I remember your faithfulness, something within me grows still. The memories of how you carried me through storm after storm have drawn me into this quiet trust where fear begins to lose its voice. It is as if the very act of remembering has led me to this sacred place beneath your covering. Father, I can feel it now, this nearness that words cannot explain, this peace that moves through the air like morning light, touching the surface of still water. You are not far. You have never been far. You are the shelter that has always waited for me to step inside. There is a gentleness in this hour that feels holy, a calm that does not depend on circumstance. The world outside is already waking, but in this small space, I sense the heartbeat of something eternal. You are here, Father, not as a distant ruler, but as the one who bends close. I can almost feel the weight of your presence resting over me like a quiet shield, not heavy but steady, firm yet tender. Under your wings, I find a safety that no place on earth can offer. It is not just protection from what frightens me. It is the warmth of belonging. There were seasons when I mistook strength for control. I thought safety meant managing every outcome, guarding myself from disappointment, staying one step ahead of pain. But you are teaching me something different. Real strength is surrender. Real safety is trust. To be under your wings is not to escape life, but to face it without fear, to live knowing that no darkness can reach me without passing through your love first. You do not promise a life without storms, but you promise to hold me steady within them. That is enough. Father, Sometimes I still struggle to rest. Even when I know you are near, my thoughts race ahead, trying to predict what might go wrong, trying to prepare for what I cannot control. Yet every time I return to you, I feel you whisper the same truth. I am covered. I do not need to brace for every battle or anticipate every wound. You are my refuge and my fortress, and no weapon formed against me will stand. You lift the burden that I was never meant to carry, and you replace it with quiet assurance. I think of the words of the psalmist, that you will cover me with your feathers, and under your wings I will find refuge. Your faithfulness will be my shield and rampart. It is more than a verse, it is a promise written across the fabric of creation. The birds that rest without worry, the trees that bend but do not break. The dawn that returns without fail, all of them echo the same truth. Everything you made finds its safety in you. Why should I be any different? Let me live with that kind of trust, the kind that does not question whether you will keep me safe, but simply rests in the fact that you already have. There are battles I cannot see, Father, fears that rise quietly, shadows that creep in when I least expect them. Sometimes I sense the weight of unseen warfare pressing on my heart. But even then, you remind me that I am not defenseless. Your faithfulness is not passive. It is a shield, alive and unbreakable. When anxiety tries to whisper its lies, your truth speaks louder. When despair tries to anchor itself to my soul, your presence lifts it away. You fight for me in ways I will never fully understand. And I am learning to trust that even the struggles I cannot name are held within your care. This morning, I want to linger here a little longer beneath your wings. I want to learn the language of stillness, the rhythm of resting without fear. Let my heart beat slow until it matches yours. Let my breathing steady until it feels like prayer itself. Teach me that peace is not found by running away from what hurts, but by leaning deeper into your presence. When I stand beneath the weight of your covering, I realize that nothing outside me can overpower what is within me. Because you live there too, I can almost see it. Father, the image of your protection surrounding me, like light invisible to the human eye, yet stronger than steel. The world may call it faith, but it feels like home. Here, beneath your wings, I am not striving to be brave. I am simply loved. And in that love, I find the courage to face whatever comes. I do not have to understand every plan or predict every outcome. I only have to stay near. So I place the coming hours into your hands. The meetings, the conversations, the challenges, they all unfold under your gaze. Wherever I walk, your shadow goes with me, not dark but radiant. Let that awareness change how I move through this day. Let it make my words gentler, my actions slower, my responses softer. I am not here to prove myself. I am here to live protected, to live from peace instead of for it. Father, I pray not just for my own shelter, but for those I love. Stretch your wings wide over them too. Let them feel what I feel now, that quiet certainty that they are safe even when they do not understand how. Cover their fears with your strength, their wounds with your tenderness, their uncertainty with your wisdom. Where they have been restless, give them stillness. Where they have been wounded, breathe healing. where they have been running. Let them find home beneath your care. Sometimes I imagine your protection like the sky itself vast, patient, unbroken. No matter where I go, I cannot step beyond it. Even when I forget, even when I doubt, it remains. That is the kind of love that sustains me. The kind that requires nothing in return but trust. You do not guard me because I am strong. You guard me because I am yours. And in that truth, fear dissolves like mist under morning sun. Father, let this awareness stay with me throughout the day. Let it guard the quiet spaces of my mind and the open places of my heart. When I step into noise and distraction, let me carry this peace like a hidden shelter. Remind me that your covering does not fade when I leave this room. It follows me into every moment, invisible but unshakable. And if the day brings uncertainty or storm, help me remember that I have already found my refuge, that I am already held beneath wings that will never fold, by hands that will never let go, by love that will never fail. Father, as I sit still beneath the safety of your wings, I can feel peace filling me slowly, like sunlight spreading through the leaves after dawn. Yet even here, in this quiet moment, I know how easily the mind can drift away from rest. It takes only a single thought, a whisper of worry, a shadow of fear, and suddenly the calm begins to tremble. Father, I realize that most of the battles I face do not happen around me, but within me. The greatest war is often fought in silence, between faith and fear, between truth and lies, between who you say I am and who the world tries to tell me I am not. You see every thought that crosses my mind, the ones I speak aloud and the ones I never dare to confess. Some come gently like passing clouds, but others cling like storms that refuse to move on. Father, you know how easily my imagination can become a battlefield, how doubts build walls, how guilt rewrites truth, how anxiety tries to convince me that I am still alone. Yet your word tells me that the mind set on you is peace, that I have been given not a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and soundness of mind. So I come to you now, not to hide from my thoughts, but to let your truth reframe them. There are voices I have carried for too long, Father, voices that sound like my own, but do not speak your language. They remind me of every failure, every regret, every weakness, and they whisper that I will never be free. But you have never spoken that way to me. Your voice is firm yet gentle. It corrects but never condemns. It calls me out of shame, not deeper into it. This morning, I ask you to help me recognize your voice above all others. Let it be the compass that directs my thoughts, the melody that steadies my heart. When I wake, my mind begins running before my body even moves. It replays conversations, rehearses outcomes, anticipates things that may never happen. I am tired of living that way, tired of being pulled in directions that lead nowhere. Teach me how to pause before I panic, how to breathe before I assume, how to listen before I react. Let my first instinct be faith, not fear. Let me measure every thought by the truth of your word, before letting it settle into my spirit. Your scripture says that we are to take every thought captive and bring it into obedience to Christ. I confess, Father, that I have often allowed my thoughts to take me captive. Instead, I have let them dictate my mood, my confidence, even my prayer. But today, I want to reverse that order. I want to take authority over my mind, not by willpower but by surrender. I invite you into the spaces where my thoughts wander. I give you permission to interrupt the cycles that lead to despair. When negativity rises, replace it with your promises. When fear builds its argument, silence it with your peace. When my imagination paints worst-case scenarios, remind me of your faithfulness. Father, teach me to guard the gate of my mind with truth. Let me be careful about what I let in, what I watch, what I hear, what I dwell on. I do not want to fill myself with noise that drowns out your whisper. I do not want to feed fear by meditating on everything that could go wrong. Instead, let my thoughts dwell on what is pure, noble, and good. Help me cultivate an inner atmosphere where faith can breathe. There are moments, Lord, when my mind feels like a room that needs cleansing. Old memories hang like dust in the corners. Lies have taken the shape of furniture I have learned to live around. But you are not afraid of the mess. You walk into it without judgment, and you begin to restore order. I can almost sense you opening the windows, letting light and air sweep through the clutter. The heaviness lifts, and in its place, peace begins to take root. That is what I long for this morning, a mind renewed, uncluttered, surrendered, alive with your presence. Sometimes, I wish I could stop thinking altogether, to rest completely from the noise of my own reasoning. But you remind me that the goal is not silence. It is alignment. My mind was made to think with you, not apart from you. Every thought that begins in fear can be redirected toward faith. Every question can become a doorway to deeper trust. So instead of trying to escape my thoughts, help me to invite you into them. Sit with me in the confusion. Speak into the chaos. Turn every restless idea into a prayer. Father, I know there will be days when negative thoughts return, when worries knock louder than wisdom, when old patterns try to reclaim their ground. But I also know that I am not powerless. You have given me the mind of Christ, and that means I am capable of seeing life through the lens of grace. It means that I can choose truth even when lies shout. It means I can find peace not because the world is quiet, but because you dwell within me. Let my thoughts today be guided by gratitude. Gratitude is a shield that worry cannot pierce. When I choose to thank you in the middle of uncertainty, I remind my mind that there is more good than I can measure, more light than I can see. Let thankfulness become my default setting, the quiet rhythm beneath every word and action. When fear tries to rewrite the story, let gratitude read it back in truth. Father, there are still moments when my mind drifts toward old pains. It revisits scenes I wish I could forget, replays failures that you have already forgiven. In those moments, remind me that grace is not only for the future, it is for the past too. I do not need to keep reliving what you have already redeemed. Teach me to release what cannot be changed and to focus on what can still grow. Let every thought that passes through my mind be filtered through love for you, love for others, and love for the person you are shaping me to become. this morning, I surrender not only my heart but my mind, is the engine of my faith, the garden where belief either withers or blooms. Guard it, Father. Water it with your truth. Pull out every weed of fear before it grows too deep. And when I begin to doubt, remind me that the battle has already been won, not by my strength, but by your peace. Under your care, even my thoughts can rest. Father, as the morning continues to unfold, I feel clarity returning, a gentle awareness that I do not have to fight alone. You are the keeper of my mind, the guardian of my peace, the voice that calls me back each time I wander. Let me walk through this day with a quiet mind and a steady heart, confident not in my ability to control every thought, but in your promise to renew me day by day until even my inner world reflects the calm of your eternal presence. Father, as my thoughts find rest again beneath your care, I feel a quiet readiness rising within me. The battle in my mind has calmed, and peace now fills the spaces where fear once lived. Yet as morning continues to unfold, I know that stepping into the world will bring new noise, new tests, new moments that will challenge what I have just prayed for. Father, before I face them, I ask you to clothe me not in fabric or status, but in the strength of your spirit. Let me walk into this day not unguarded, not unprepared, but wrapped in everything that comes from you. I can feel the shift between reflection and movement. The quiet stillness of dawn begins to meet the rhythm of life outside. The world does not pause, and neither do its demands. There are responsibilities waiting, people to see, decisions to make. And yet, before I step forward, I want to begin with you once more. I do not want to carry yesterday's weakness in today's work. I do not want to walk clothed in worry or distraction. Father, I want to be dressed in the armor of your presence, steady and sure. Your word speaks of the armor of light, of truth, of faith, and of salvation. These are not metaphors to me anymore, they are lifelines. Each one covers what the world tries to expose. So this morning, I stand before you with open hands and ask you to help me put them on, one by one, not as a soldier ready for battle, but as a child stepping into purpose. Fasten truth around me first. Father, let it wrap firmly around my heart and mind so that I will not be deceived by the voices that twist or distort what is real. The world is full of illusions, full of noise that pretends to be wisdom. Let your truth anchor me so deeply that no lie can pull me away. Help me to speak honestly, to think purely, and to act with integrity even when it costs something. Let truth be my quiet strength. Then place over me the breastplate of righteousness, not my own, but yours. Cover the tender places that life has bruised. Guard my emotions from being led by anger or pride. Teach me to do what is right not for recognition, but out of love. Let righteousness flow naturally, like breath, so that even when I am misunderstood or criticized, I can remain steady, knowing that I am protected by your approval alone. Next, Father, prepare my steps with peace. As I move through this day, let my path be lined with gentleness. Let my presence bring calm where there is conflict, understanding where there is division, compassion where there is pain, Make me someone who carries peace into every conversation. Every decision, every place I go, let my reactions be slow and my words be kind. When storms rise around me, let peace be the firm ground I stand on, unshaken by chaos. Now I lift up the shield of faith. Father, I hold it high, not in fear but in confidence. This is the barrier between me and every dart of doubt or discouragement that will come my way. Faith does not mean I understand everything, but it means I trust you through everything. When things do not go as planned, remind me that you are still in control. When I am tempted to give in to frustration or despair, let my faith absorb the blow. Let every thought of defeat fall harmlessly against the shield you have given me. Place upon my head the helmet of salvation. Let it protect my perspective, my identity, my hope. The mind is quick to forget, and I need constant reminders that I belong to you. I am not defined by success or failure, praise or rejection. I am defined by grace. Let this truth sit like a crown upon me, reminding me that I am already loved, already redeemed, already safe. No accusation can change that. No mistake can remove it. And in my hand, Father, place the sword of the Spirit, your word. Let it not be an ornament, but a living truth, sharp enough to divide what is false from what is real. Teach me to use it gently, not to wound, but to bring clarity. When I feel lost, let it guide me. When I feel weak, let it strengthen me. Let Scripture not be something I read only in the morning, but something that moves with me through every hour. I realize, Father, that what you give me to wear is not armor for attack, but clothing for endurance. It is not meant to make me look powerful, but to keep me grounded in love. Each piece speaks of relationship truth that connects me to you, righteousness that reflects your heart, peace that mirrors your nature, faith that holds your promises, salvation that secures my belonging, and your word that keeps me near. You do not dress me to fight against people, but to stand firm against fear, to resist despair, and to love in places where love is hard to find. Father, as I imagine being clothed in all these things, I notice how complete it feels. There is no part of me left uncovered, no weakness you have ignored. Even my vulnerability has become a place of strength, because it is hidden in you. I do not need to prove that I am strong. I only need to remember that you are. And in that remembering, courage begins to rise quietly within me. As I prepare to step into this day, I ask that your presence go before me like light breaking through shadow. Let your Spirit surround me so closely that wherever I go, peace walks beside me and grace lingers behind. When I am tempted to worry, remind me that I am already equipped for what is coming. When I face uncertainty, remind me that preparation began here. In this moment of prayer, you have already gone ahead of me, and you will walk with me still. Father, teach me to wear this armor not as something I take on and off, but as something I live in. Let righteousness shape my reactions, truth guide my thoughts, peace steady my steps, and faith become the rhythm of my breathing. Let salvation remain the foundation of my joy, and let your word stay alive on my tongue. And when I reach the end of the day, may I find that everything I faced was met not with fear, but with the quiet strength you placed upon me. Father, the morning stands fully awake now, and so do I. I rise not as who I was yesterday, but as who you are shaping me to be. I am clothed in grace, armored in love, ready not because the world is easy, but because you are enough. Let me walk forward with steady courage, carrying the peace that only comes from being fully wrapped in you, knowing that nothing ahead is beyond the reach of your strength or the covering of your care. Father, as I stand clothed in the strength you have provided, my heart feels steadier than before. The armor of your presence rests on me like truth made visible, and with every breath I sense your nearness holding me upright. Yet I know that to walk through this day fully awake in faith, I must not only wear what you have given, I must speak it. Father, you created the world with words. Life began with sound, with declaration, with truth spoken into emptiness. And so this morning, I come to stand in that same power. Let my voice echo your will. Let my words align with your promises. Let my declarations build the world I am called to walk through. You have shown me, Father, that silence can sometimes be holy, but at other times, it can be a doorway for fear. When I leave my heart unguarded, worry speaks first. When I leave my faith unspoken, doubt grows loud. Today, I choose to fill that space with truth. I refuse to let my mind repeat the language of defeat. Instead, I will speak what you have already declared over me: life, peace, victory, and belonging. I will not whisper from weakness, but declare from identity. I am yours, and therefore I will speak as one who has been redeemed. There are words I have used carelessly in the past, Father, words shaped by frustration, disappointment, or fear. They built walls instead of bridges. They planted weeds instead of seeds. But you are teaching me that speech carries weight, that every sentence can either create or destroy. This morning, I surrender my tongue to you. Let my voice become an instrument of blessing, not bitterness, of faith, not complaint. Let the way I speak reflect the way I believe. Father, I declare today that fear will not rule me. It may visit, but it will not stay. I am not the prisoner of my emotions or the victim of circumstance. I am the child of a faithful God who commands peace to still the storm. I declare that no weapon formed against me will prosper. Every word of criticism, every whisper of accusation, every hidden plan meant for harm will crumble under the weight of your truth. I am covered by grace and guarded by love. I declare that my mind is sound. My thoughts are aligned with the wisdom of heaven. I will not be driven by worry or shaped by what I cannot control. I will think on what is true, what is good, what is worthy of praise. Anxiety will not steal my focus. Despair will not darken my vision. I am guided by your Spirit, and my thoughts are under your care. I declare that my body is strong enough for today, whether in health or in weakness. I carry the breath of the Almighty within me. Every step I take is sustained by your strength. Every heartbeat echoes your design. I am not fragile, for you hold me together. I will not speak of weariness as final, but of renewal as certain. You are the energy behind my endurance and the peace that steadies my pace. I declare that my relationships are rooted in grace. I will not let offense or pride dictate the way I love. I will not hold grudges that poison my peace. I release those who have hurt me and bless those who cannot yet see the truth. I choose kindness over reaction, forgiveness over resentment, humility over ego. My words today will build others, not break them. Let my tone carry warmth, and my silence carry understanding. I declare that the work of my hands is blessed. What I give my energy to today will bear good fruit. I will not despise small beginnings or measure success by speed. Every effort done in love becomes sacred when offered to you. Father, let my diligence be worship and my excellence be testimony. Let my labor carry the fragrance of faithfulness, unseen but unmistakable. I declare that my household is surrounded by peace. Let every wall echo laughter instead of worry, gratitude instead of fear. I pray protection over those I love. No darkness will invade what you have covered. Harmony will reign where conflict once stood. I will speak life into my family, hope into our conversations, and prayer into our decisions. Where there has been tension, let there be tenderness. Where there has been distance, let connection grow. Father, I declare that I am walking in purpose. I am not aimless or accidental. You have placed me here, in this time and place, for reasons that stretch beyond my understanding. My steps are ordered. My moments are meaningful, and even the detours are woven into destiny. I will not fear missing what is mine, for what you have prepared cannot be stolen. I will move forward not by striving, but by listening. Every opportunity meant for me will find me, because you are leading the way. And Father, I declare that this day belongs to you. It is not ruled by luck or circumstance, but by divine order. I will not waste time chasing what was never meant to satisfy me. I will keep my eyes on what is eternal. I declare that today will be a day of growth, of clarity, of courage. I will see miracles not because I deserve them, but because you delight in showing your goodness. These declarations are not wishes. They are truths already written in heaven. I speak them not to convince you, but to remind myself. Each word becomes an anchor in my spirit, a place for faith to stand when the ground feels unsteady. I can feel it even now, the power that comes when my voice joins your promises. The air shifts, the atmosphere changes. Hope awakens. It is not noise. It is creation taking shape. Father, I ask you to teach me the discipline of holy speech. Let my declarations not be limited to morning prayer, but flow through the entire day. When I face difficulty, let me respond with truth. When fear rises, let my words be faith. When confusion clouds my path, let my mouth speak clarity. And when blessing comes, let my first instinct be to praise rather than to boast. Every word has purpose. Every sentence carries power, and I want mine to mirror yours. As the morning matures, I can sense that this is what you wanted for me all along, not a timid faith that whispers in private, but a confident trust that speaks life in public. To declare is to partner with you, to echo what heaven has already spoken. My words become the soil where your promises can take root. My declarations invite your will to unfold in real time. Father, let my voice today be filled with courage and coated with love. Let my tone carry peace, and my speech reflect faith. May every word I release carry the fragrance of your spirit, soft yet strong, gentle yet powerful. I do not speak to control outcomes, but to align with truth. I do not declare command you, but to remind my heart who you are. And as I go into this day, I will keep declaring what you have already said, that light always overcomes darkness, that grace never runs out, and that love remains the greatest force in every battle I face. Father, as my voice settles from the declarations of faith that have filled this morning, a quiet awareness begins to rise within me. Words have power, yes, but the truest strength comes from the place where those words are born from the heart that has first been humbled, from the soul that has first been forgiven. Father, I realize that to walk in the authority of truth, I must also bow in the honesty of grace. Before I can move forward into the fullness of this day, I need to come back to the place where everything began, the cross. It is there, Father, that all striving ceases. The noise of the world fades, and even my proud attempts to prove myself fall silent. There, I remember who I am and who you are. There, guilt finds its answer, shame loses its claim, and love becomes more than a word, it becomes a presence. Standing at the foot of the cross, I do not see condemnation. I see mercy poured out in quiet strength. It is not an image of defeat, but a victory disguised as surrender. And as I look upon it in my heart, I know that everything I carry, my regrets, my failures, my hidden burdens, can be left there without fear of rejection. Father, sometimes I forget how heavy the unseen weights have become. I carry old disappointments as if they were part of my identity. I replay words that hurt me as if they define my worth. I hold on to mistakes that you have long forgiven, afraid to believe that grace could truly cover them. But at the cross, all of that unravels. The power of what I regret meets the greater power of what you have redeemed. You remind me that forgiveness is not earned, it is received. And when I finally let go, the air changes. It feels like freedom has texture, light, quiet, clean. I come to you today, Father, not with polished prayers or perfect sentences, but with honest confession. There are things in me that still resist your mercy. There are corners of my heart where bitterness has taken root, where pride still tries to justify itself. I bring them to you now, not because I am proud of them, but because I no longer want to carry them. I do not want to live divided, saying I trust you while still hiding pieces of myself in shadow. At the cross, there are no shadows that remain. Everything stands exposed, but also embraced. There are faces that come to mind. Father, people who have hurt me, intentionally or not. People whose names still stir unease when I hear them. For so long I have prayed for peace while still clutching the right to resent. But here, beneath the weight of your forgiveness, I cannot justify my own unforgiveness any longer. The cross strips away excuses. It reminds me that I, too, have wounded and been pardoned. I, too, have fallen and been lifted. So now, I release them, one by one. I whisper their names, and with each breath, I choose to forgive, not because it is easy, but because it is holy, because holding on hurts more than letting go, because mercy, when given, multiplies. Teach me, Father, that forgiveness is not a single moment, but a rhythm. Some wounds heal slowly, reopening without warning. When that happens, bring me back here again. Let me return as many times as it takes until love becomes instinct and grace becomes my nature. The cross is not a place I visit once. It is the ground I live upon. Every sunrise invites me back to it, reminding me that yesterday's failures do not have to follow me into today. I look again, Father, and in the quiet of my heart, I see what I often forget: your Son choosing compassion instead of vengeance, praying for those who wounded him, loving even through agony. That is the love that has rewritten my story. It is not sentimental or distant. It is fierce, costly, eternal. It reaches into the worst of me and calls me beautiful again. It takes what was broken and remakes it into something whole. And as I remember this, I realize that to be forgiven is to be transformed. I cannot receive mercy and stay the same. Grace changes everything it touches. Let that change begin again this morning. Father, wash through me like a quiet river, clearing what bitterness remains, softening what pride has hardened. Let humility replace defensiveness, compassion replace judgment, and tenderness replace the instinct to protect myself. Teach me to live with a heart unguarded, not naive, but open, a heart that forgives easily because it has been forgiven deeply, a heart that carries the fragrance of grace wherever it goes. Sometimes, Father, I fear being hurt again if I forgive too freely, but then I remember that safety is not found in control. It is found in you. The cross is proof that love does not lose even when it bleeds. It is proof that surrender is not weakness, but the doorway to power. So I will not fear vulnerability anymore. If love costs me comfort, it will still be worth it. If grace costs me pride, it will still be beautiful. I trust that every time I forgive, something sacred grows stronger inside me. I bring to you, too, the guilt I still hold toward myself, the moments I wish I could rewrite, the words I wish I had never said, the opportunities I missed. You remind me that repentance is not self-punishment. It is returning. You do not ask me to relive my failures, only to release them. So I place them at the foot of the cross, one by one, and as I do, I feel your compassion gather them like ashes into hands that never waste anything. You turn what was ruined into something redemptive. Nothing is lost in your mercy. Father, I ask that as I walk through this day, I would remember the cross not only as history, but as heartbeat. Let forgiveness flow through my interactions, through my tone, through the way I respond to others. Let me see people not through the lens of how they treat me, but through the lens of how you love them. Keep me tender in a world that rewards hardness. Keep me compassionate in moments that tempt me to withdraw. Let me become a living echo of the grace I have received. As the morning sun grows higher, I sense that forgiveness has changed the way I see everything. The same light that falls across the earth now seems to fall within me too, warming even the cold places. At the foot of the cross, I find both release and renewal. I rise not heavy with guilt, but light with gratitude. I am free not because I have done enough to earn it, but because love decided I was worth it long before I believed it myself. Father, as this prayer softens into stillness, I hold on to the awareness that everything begins and ends here. In mercy, the cross is not a relic of pain, but a living fountain of grace. It reminds me that every breath I take is proof of redemption, that every sunrise carries resurrection in its light. And so, as I go into this day, I will carry forgiveness like armor and compassion like fire, trusting that love, the kind that bleeds, the kind that stays, will always be enough to make me whole again. Father, as I rise from the quiet place at the foot of the cross, I feel a stillness that is not empty but full of mercy, full of light, full of something gentle that feels like newness. The weight of guilt has lifted, and what remains is a tender awareness of how deeply I need your healing in every part of me. Forgiveness restores the heart, but healing restores the whole being. Father, I bring before you not only my spirit, but my body, my mind, and every weary corner of my soul. I know that your care reaches further than what I can see or touch. It moves through the unseen places, where hurt lingers and fatigue hides. There are parts of me, Father, that still ache even after peace has returned. My body carries the memory of long seasons of tension and burden. There are muscles that hold stress like stories they have never been allowed to tell. There are nights when sleep does not come easily, and mornings when energy feels thin, like air stretched too far. You know the fragile systems within me. The heart beats a little faster when worry rises, the breath that shortens when fear draws near. I do not come asking for perfection. I come asking for renewal. Touch the physical spaces that need your restoration. Let strength return slowly but steadily, like light spreading through the cracks of morning. Father, you shape this body with care, and you know every cell, every rhythm, every pulse. Remind me that it is not a burden to be carried, but a vessel to be honored. Teach me to treat it with gratitude instead of frustration. Let me rest when I need to, nourish myself without guilt, move with joy instead of pressure when pain comes. Help me listen to what it teaches rather than resenting it. Let healing not only mend what is broken, but also awaken reverence for the gift of being alive. Yet, even as the body heals, the mind often lingers behind. Father, you see the tangle of thoughts that still whisper unkindly, the patterns that loop like storms that never end. My mind has fought many unseen battles, some against fear, some against regret, some against the quiet weariness that settles after long striving. I ask that you would bring order to the chaos within me. Silence the voices that do not belong, the ones that speak in shame, in doubt, in endless comparison. Replace them with truth so simple and strong that it steadies me without effort. Let my thoughts become places where peace lives comfortably, not as a visitor, but as a resident. When my mind races toward worry, teach it to pause. When it clings to what cannot be changed, teach it to release. When it fills with self-criticism, remind it that love and correction are not opposites. They coexist perfectly in you. Renew my mind. Father, so that I may see the world not through the lens of fear, but through the eyes of faith. Let imagination become a sanctuary again, a place where hope creates instead of anxiety destroys. And then there is the soul, Father, the deepest layer, where everything that makes me human finds its meaning. Sometimes it feels faint, like a candle flickering in wind. Life can harden it without my noticing, dulling its color, flattening its wonder. But you are the restorer of souls. You breathe where breath has grown shallow, and you remind me that the soul does not need to be perfect to be precious. It only needs to stay open. Pour your gentleness into the places where cynicism has crept in. Soften the corners that have grown sharp from disappointment. Replace exhaustion with purpose, numbness with sensitivity, and confusion with quiet, knowing that you are near. Father, healing is not always instant. Sometimes it arrives like rain, soft, persistent, soaking slowly into dry ground. Help me to wait without frustration, to trust that your timing is not delay but design. I will not measure progress by what I feel each day, but by the deeper stillness growing beneath the surface. Even when I cannot see change, let me believe that healing is already underway. There are wounds that medicine cannot touch, and words cannot describe the heartbreaks that still hum quietly beneath laughter. The losses that shape the way I see the world. You understand those places even when I cannot name them. You sit beside me in silence when explanations would only cheapen the pain. That is healing to the presence that does not fix but fills. Let me learn to rest in that kind of restoration, where nothing has to be solved to be sacred. Teach me, Father, to see healing not as returning to who I once was, but becoming more whole than I have ever been. Every scar tells a story of survival. Every tear becomes a seed that grows compassion. Every weakness becomes a place where your strength can live. Help me stop wishing for the version of myself that never struggled, and instead embrace the person who has walked through the fire and come out with deeper grace. This morning, I ask you to extend this healing beyond me. There are people I love who are hurting, some in body, some in mind, some in spirit. You know their pain better than they can explain it. Reach them with the same tenderness you show me now. Let them feel your nearness in hospital rooms, in sleepless nights, in moments when words fail. Surround them with peace that does not depend on circumstance. Heal them in ways unseen, through laughter that returns unexpectedly, through strength that rises quietly, through hope that refuses to die. And for the world, Father, whose wounds seem too deep for human hands, I pray for your restoration. Heal our divisions, our violence, our wariness. Teach us to see one another not as threats, but as reflections of your image. Let kindness become contagious again. Let justice flow not as punishment, but as compassion made visible. The world aches for your touch more than it knows. Let healing begin in hearts before it reaches systems, in forgiveness before it reaches solutions. As I sit here, Father, I sense something gentle moving within me, an awareness that healing is already happening. My body feels lighter, my mind quieter, my soul steadier. It is not perfection, it is peace. I do not have to wait for all pain to end before I live with gratitude. Healing is not a destination. It is a relationship. It happens each time I trust you with one more piece of myself. It happens each morning I choose to breathe deeper, to forgive faster, to hope again. Father, thank you for being the physician who never tires, the comforter who never withdraws, the creator who continues to make all things new. As this morning unfolds, let me walk not as someone waiting to be healed, but as someone already touched by grace. Let my steps be gentle, my words restorative, my presence soothing. And when others cross my path carrying invisible pain, let them feel through me the quiet proof that healing is not beyond reach, that the one who restores body, mind, and soul is still at work. Even now, even here, even in the soft light of this new day. Dear Heavenly Father, as your healing peace settles gently into the corners of my being, I feel a quiet readiness stirring once again. You have mended what was fragile, soothed what was aching, and breathed stillness into my thoughts. Yet, Father, I know that healing is not the end, it is the beginning. Wholeness is not meant to be kept. It is meant to move, to live, to ignite. I can sense that you are calling me now from rest into renewal, from quiet recovery into divine empowerment. Just as the dawn expands across the sky, I feel your spirit moving through me like wind, fire, and oil, three forms of the same holy presence, each carrying its own mystery, each awakening a new kind of strength within. The wind comes first. Father, I feel it in the unseen spaces, soft yet commanding. It moves through the soul like bright breath returning to lungs that had forgotten how to expand. It reminds me that life itself began with your breath, that before anything was built, you spoke and exhaled creation into existence. I think of that first wind that swept across the waters, carrying promise before there was form. That same spirit stirs within me now, sweeping away the dust of old fears, clearing the stale air of hesitation. Father, let your wind move freely through me. Let it carry away all that is stagnant resentment, worry, self-doubt, and replace them with fresh expectancy. Teach me to breathe deeply again, not just through my lungs, but through my faith. Let every breath remind me that you are still creating, still speaking, still filling what feels empty with new life. Then comes the fire, not the kind that destroys, but the kind that refines. Father, you know how often I shrink from the heat of transformation. It is easier to pray for comfort than for courage, easier to ask for safety than for strength. But you are a consuming fire, not to harm me, but to burn away everything that keeps me from shining with your likeness. So I open myself to the flame of your presence. Let it burn gently yet deeply, refining my motives, purifying my desires, and rekindling the passion that has grown dim beneath the weight of routine. Let every spark become purpose, every ember become devotion. I do not want to live lukewarm. Let zeal for your truth set my spirit ablaze, not as noise, but as quiet conviction that transforms the atmosphere wherever I go. Fire brings light, Father, but it also brings courage. It gives warmth to others while consuming the fear within. When I feel timid, remind me that boldness is not arrogance, it is obedience. Give me the courage to stand for what is right, to speak truth even when silence feels safer, to love deeply even when it costs comfort. Let the fire of your spirit move through me like a holy pulse, steady and unwavering, teaching me that true passion is not a moment of emotion, but a lifestyle of surrender. And then, Father, there is the oil, the gentle flow of anointing that lingers after the wind and the fire have done their work. It does not roar or blaze. It moves quietly, leaving behind a fragrance that others can sense, even if they cannot name it. I feel it now, subtle yet undeniable, like grace made tangible. This is the oil that consecrates, that prepares, that empowers. It does not make me better than others. It makes me available. It reminds me that everything I do, every task, every conversation, every act of kindness can become sacred when done under your anointing. Father, pour that oil over my thoughts, that they may flow with wisdom. Pour it over my words, that they may heal rather than wound. Pour it over my hands, that the work they touch would carry more than skill, it would carry spirit. Let it cover my eyes so that I may see others with compassion rather than comparison. Let it soak into the deepest layers of who I am, until everything I do carries the quiet shine of your presence. Let the oil of gladness replace the ashes of exhaustion. Let it restore joy to the places that have grown weary from striving. Wind, fire, and oil movement. Purification and consecration. 3 languages of the same spirit, each whispering something I need to remember. The wind tells me that I am free. The fire tells me that I am strong. The oil tells me that I am chosen. Together, they shape a life that is not driven by fear, led by purpose. Father, help me walk in all 3 today, not rushing to perform, but remaining aware that your presence is both power and peace. There are moments when I forget that your spirit is alive within me, not as an idea but as reality. I treat it like something distant, something reserved for the extraordinary. But you remind me that the extraordinary begins in the ordinary, the whisper, the glance, the quiet act of obedience. The same wind that parted seas moves through simple moments. The same fire that fell on prophets now refines the heart of a single believer. The same oil once poured on kings now flows through everyday acts of faith. Let me not underestimate what you can do through one willing heart. Father, I ask that your spirit not only fill me but overflow. Let it reach others through how I listen, how I serve, how I love. Let my presence bring calm where tension lives and hope where heaviness lingers. Let people sense peace without needing explanation. Let the words I speak carry weight because they are carried by grace. Let my life become a reflection of wind that refreshes, fire that purifies, and oil that heals. When the day grows busy and distractions pull at my attention, remind me of this morning as stillness. Let me remember that what I carry is not just faith but fire, not just belief but breath, not just intention but anointing. The spirit within me is not fragile. It is unbreakable. It is the same spirit that raised Christ from the grave, the same presence that hovers now over the chaos of every human heart, ready to bring order from confusion and beauty from ashes. Father, thank you for trusting me with this sacred power. Help me to carry it with humility, to never use it for control, but always for compassion. Let the fire make me courageous. Not proud. Let the oil make me gentle. Not passive. Let the wind make me flexible. Not aimless. Balance me as only you can, passionate yet patient, bold yet kind, strong yet surrendered. Father, as this morning matures into day, I step forward not just healed but ignited. The world ahead may hold uncertainty, but I do not walk into it empty. I carry wind that clears, fire that strengthens, and oil that consecrates. Let these gifts move through me naturally, quietly, powerfully, and as I breathe, as I speak, as I act, may the world around me feel what I feel now, this holy presence, this living spirit, this steady flame of divine life that refuses to be extinguished. Father, as the flame of your spirit still glows softly within me, I pause in this quiet hour to listen. The wind has swept through and cleared the fog. The fire has refined what was uncertain, and the oil has settled into every part of me with its steady peace. Now, Father, I am ready to walk, but I do not want to walk without direction. I need your guidance, not the kind that shouts from afar, but the kind that whispers within the steady voice that moves with me step by step. I have learned that strength without guidance can wander, that passion without purpose can exhaust the heart. So before this day begins in full, I look to you, asking not only for power but for clarity. Father, you know how easily I can fill the hours with plans of my own making. My mind loves to organize, to decide, to push forward. Yet, so often, I have walked quickly in the wrong direction. I have rushed ahead in eagerness, only to find myself wary and unsure. I do not want that kind of striving anymore. I want this day to unfold with rhythm, not with haste, with discernment instead of distraction. You promised that if I acknowledge you in all my ways, you will make my path straight. I hold that promise close now, not as a verse to remember, but as a map to live by. Show me the way, Father, not just in the big decisions that feel heavy, but in the small ones that shape the spirit of my day. Teach me to notice the quiet choices that steer the soul, how I respond to interruption, how I speak when hurried, how I treat those I might overlook. These are the paths I walk most often, and they require as much divine guidance as any mountain I might climb. Remind me that direction is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is as simple as choosing patience over reaction, humility over pride, or kindness over convenience. Guide my thoughts first. Father, let the first words that fill my mind each morning come from you, not from worry or self-doubt. Keep me from leaning on my own understanding. Let me not trust my assumptions more than your wisdom. Help me to be still enough to hear when you redirect me, humble enough to change course when needed. There is peace in obedience, even when it alters my plans. I want that peace more than I want control. Then, guide my steps. Let me move through this day, neither rushing ahead nor dragging behind. Set the pace of my heart to match yours. When I face decisions that are unclear, let discernment rise quietly, like light spreading across the horizon, gradual, certain, unmistakable. Teach me to recognize your nudges, the unease that warns, the calm that affirms, the timing that protects, And when silence remains, remind me that silence itself can be direction to wait, to trust, to remain still until your next word comes. Father, there are paths that look easy but lead to emptiness, and others that look hard but hold hidden blessing. Give me the courage to take the narrow road when comfort calls me elsewhere. Give me the wisdom to know when to move and when to stay. I do not want to chase opportunity out of fear of missing out. I want to walk only where you walk, even when the way seems slow or uncertain. Help me to believe that your timing is never late and your will is never wasted. Guide my conversations today. Father, let my words be seasoned with grace, my tone marked by gentleness, my listening deeper than my speaking. Help me to discern when to encourage, when to challenge, when to simply be silent and present. Every person I meet is carrying a story I cannot see. Let me be sensitive to that hidden weight. If you place someone in my path who needs comfort, let me notice. If you place someone who tests my patience, let me respond with compassion. Let every exchange today reflect the wisdom that comes from walking closely with you. Guide my hands too. Father, whatever I touch, whether work or rest, tasks or creativity, let it carry purpose. Keep me from business that drains meaning and lead me into diligence that brings life. Help me do ordinary things with extraordinary care, not for applause but for love. Let every act, however small, be done as service unto you. This is the kind of guidance that sanctifies the mundane, turning the simplest effort into worship. And Father, guide my eyes. There are so many things that demand attention, each promising importance but offering only distraction. Teach me to see what truly matters. Let me look for beauty where others see nothing. Let me recognize grace in interruptions and opportunity in waiting. Keep my gaze from wandering toward comparison or envy. Instead, let me look toward what you are doing, both in me and around me. Help me see the day not as something to survive, but as something to be shaped into gratitude. Sometimes, Father, I expect your guidance to arrive as a clear sign, a sudden revelation that removes all doubt. But you often lead differently through gentle impressions, through quiet conviction, through peace that cannot be explained. Teach me to trust those subtleties. Let my spirit become fluent in your language of whispers. Even when I cannot trace the full path ahead, let me take the next step faithfully, believing that obedience today will open clarity tomorrow. If the path brings difficulty, remind me that challenge does not mean absence. You walk through valleys as surely as you lead across mountaintops. If the road feels lonely, remind me that your companionship is closer than breath. I am never lost when I walk with you. Even detours can become divine appointments when guided by your hand. Nothing in this day will surprise you, and nothing that surprises me will escape your plan. Father, I give you every choice before me today, every plan, every schedule, every unexpected turn. Write your wisdom across the hours ahead. Let me make decisions that honor you, not because I fear mistakes, but because I love alignment. I know that your will is not a maze to decode, but a relationship to nurture. The closer I walk with you, the clearer the path becomes. As I breathe in this final stillness before the day begins, I sense the quiet rhythm of guidance already forming within me. It feels like a melody playing softly underneath the noise of life, a calm assurance that wherever I go, I do not go alone. Each step is sacred because you are in it. Each choice is secure because you see beyond it. Father, thank you for being the compass that never falters, the map that never fades, the voice that never misleads. Let my life today move in tune with yours, measured, faithful, open, and aware. I no longer ask for a perfect path. I ask for a present guide. Let your wisdom lead me, your spirit steady me, and your love direct me through every turn of this unfolding day, until every moment becomes a quiet testimony that I walked with you. Father, as I follow the gentle rhythm of your guidance, I feel how every step has led me to this moment. Each morning prayer has unfolded like a path through the dawn, first into stillness, then surrender, then trust. And now, Father, I sense you calling me to walk into freedom, to believe not only in peace, but in breakthrough. There are places within me still bound by fear, still weighed down by hesitation, but you are the God who breaks chains and opens doors. You are the one who parts seas that seem impassable and breathes possibility into what looks impossible. So this morning, I stand before you not as one trapped by circumstance, but as one waiting for the sound of freedom as gate unlocking. Father, you know the struggles that cling quietly to my life, the habits that have overstayed their welcome, the patterns that repeat even when I wish they would end. Some chains are visible, wrapped tightly around choices and consequences. Others are invisible, woven through thoughts, fears, and expectations. They whisper that nothing will ever change, that progress will always be partial. That hope should be cautious, but I know those are not your words. You speak in the language of freedom, of new beginnings, of open skies after storms. And so today, I choose to believe that what has held me will not hold me forever. There are doors in my life that have remained closed for too long, dreams deferred, prayers unanswered, opportunities missed or misunderstood. I have stood before some of them knocking until my hands grew tired, wondering if you heard. But I am beginning to understand that you are not ignoring me. You are preparing me. Sometimes you do not open a door because I'm not yet ready to walk through it. Sometimes you are working behind the scenes, aligning circumstances that my eyes cannot yet see. So I will not resent the waiting. I will trust that in your perfect time, the right doors will open, not by force, but by grace. Father, I ask you to break the chains that I cannot break alone. The ones made not of metal, but of memory, the moments that replay without invitation, the voices from the past that still echo louder than truth. Set me free from the need to prove my worth, from the fear of failure, from the weight of what others expect. Release me from patterns of overthinking and self-protection that keep me from stepping boldly into the unknown. Teach me that freedom is not recklessness. It is confidence in your care. True liberation is not about escaping hardship, but about knowing that no prison can contain a soul filled with your spirit. When I think of chains breaking, Father, I think of midnight moments, those dark hours when hope feels weakest, yet heaven moves strongest. You do some of your greatest work in silence. I imagine the scene in the book of Acts, when your servant sat imprisoned, yet chose to sing instead of despair. In the stillness of night, praise became power, and the walls began to shake. That is what I want my heart to learn to sing in confinement, to praise before the miracle, to trust that even if the walls do not move immediately, my faith is already shifting something unseen. Let my worship become the sound of chains losing their hold. Father, teach me to recognize the difference between closed doors and locked ones. Not every pause is a prison. Sometimes the delay is your mercy protecting me from what I am not ready for. Sometimes you close a door because what waits beyond it would harm more than help. Give me wisdom to stop pushing where you have already said no, and courage to step forward when you whisper yes. Let me not confuse resistance with rejection. When one path ends, help me look up instead of back, for there may already be another door opening quietly somewhere else. There are also doors within my own heart that need opening: the door to forgiveness, the door to hope, the door to vulnerability. I have kept some locked for fear of being hurt again, for fear of disappointment, for fear of letting others see the unfinished parts of me. But you, Father, knock gently on every door, never forcing entry, always waiting with patience. This morning, I open them all to you. Come into every hidden room, into the places I rarely visit. Sweep through them with your light. Let nothing remain sealed. Freedom begins not when life changes around me, but when I open inwardly to you. Father, I ask not only for my own breakthrough, but for those I love. Some of them are caught in battles I cannot fight, for them addictions, discouragements, griefs too heavy to name. I bring them before you now. Where they feel surrounded, surround them instead with your presence. Where they feel forgotten, remind them that heaven still remembers their name. Break chains in their lives too, Lord, chains of despair, fear, or confusion. Let this be the day that something shifts, even if quietly, even if unseen, when doors open. Father, help me walk through them with humility. Freedom is not a stage for pride, but an altar for gratitude. Let me not take credit for what only your hand could have accomplished. Let every victory point back to you. When opportunities come, remind me that they are not rewards for perfection, but invitations to stewardship. Teach me to handle blessing with the same grace I carried through waiting. Keep my heart steady so that success does not make me forget the sound of prayer. Sometimes, Father, I realize that the greatest doors are not physical or circumstantial, but spiritual. The door of faith, the door of boldness, the door of deeper intimacy with you. These are the thresholds that matter most. Open them wide today. Let me step beyond routine faith into radical trust, beyond occasional prayer into continual communion. Let my relationship with you become less about asking and more about abiding. I want to live in such alignment that when you move, I move without hesitation. As the light outside brightens and the day begins to unfold, I sense that something within me has already shifted. The air feels lighter, as if unseen locks have begun to turn. Perhaps the greatest chains were never around my circumstances, but around my perspective, and you have quietly begun to set it free. I do not need to see every outcome to know that you are working. I can already feel the assurance that freedom is not coming, it is here, growing stronger with every breath of faith. Father, thank you for being the one who releases, who restores, who opens what no one else can open. Let this day be marked by the sound of things loosening, the grip of fear, the weight of doubt, the hold of the past. Let me walk through every open door not as one escaping, but as one entering into purpose. Let others see in me the quiet joy of a soul no longer bound, and through that joy, let them glimpse the power of the God who still breaks chains and still opens doors. Father, as the sound of chains fading still echoes through my spirit, I stand in awe of how freedom feels. It is not loud, it is gentle, like air flowing through a once closed room. Every breath feels lighter now. Yet with this new freedom comes a fresh awareness. There are still dry places in me that long for your rain. Father, I have seen doors open and burdens lift, but now I bring before you the parts of my life that remain barren. The wilderness of waiting, the fields where nothing seems to grow, the spaces that feel forgotten by grace. You are the God who makes rivers in the desert, who brings abundance where there was emptiness. So here I am again, asking not only for release but for renewal. There are seasons, Father, when the soul feels like scorched earth cracked by disappointment, tired from delay, thirsty for something that feels alive. I know you see those places. You never turn away from the barren ground. You walk into it with compassion. You do not scold the desert for being dry. You send rain to teach it how to bloom. I want to trust you like that, to believe that even in these quiet, desolate spaces, you are already preparing something new beneath the surface. The soil that looks lifeless is often the very ground where miracles take root unseen. Sometimes, Father, it feels easier to settle for survival than to hope for growth. I tell myself that if I can just make it through the day, that will be enough. But you did not set me free merely to survive. You called me to flourish. Your spirit does not trickle timidly, it flows. It carves rivers through rock, turns wastelands into gardens, and reminds me that there is no place too dry for your touch. So I open my heart to the possibility of life returning, even to the places I once gave up on. Father, I confess that I have doubted your timing. When the drought stretches long, it is easy to think you have forgotten. When prayers seem to evaporate into silence, my faith feels brittle. But even drought has purpose. It teaches me to depend not on my own strength, but on the promise of your provision. You have never failed to send rain in its time, and when it comes, it often falls on more than I expected. It revives not just what I prayed for, but everything around it. Help me wait for that rain without bitterness. Help me see the beauty, even in waiting, the discipline of trust, the quiet strength of endurance, the grace that grows only in dry ground. You said in your word that you would make streams flow through the wilderness. I hold on to that promise today. Let those streams begin within me. Let hope flow where fear once lived. Let gratitude soften the soil of discouragement. Let faith rise like groundwater, pushing through the cracks of fatigue and doubt. I do not ask for an easy life. Father, I ask for a living one that knows how to thrive, even when the landscape looks impossible. There are deserts in relationships, two connections that have grown distant, love that feels faded, understanding that has dried up. Breathe over those places. Father, send your river of compassion to flow between hearts that have forgotten how to meet, where harsh words have built walls. Let kindness wear new pathways through the stone. Where misunderstanding has lingered, let grace speak louder. Teach me to be the first to pour water instead of waiting for someone else to make the first move. Let reconciliation begin with me, not as duty, but as worship. There are also deserts of purpose, times when the calling that once burned bright now feels dim, when inspiration feels like dust on the tongue. In those moments, Father, remind me that dryness does not mean disqualification. It means you are deepening my roots. The tree that grows in the desert learns to reach farther for water. It learns endurance that lush fields will never know. If this is my desert season, let it strengthen me, not break me. Let it make my faith resilient and my dependence unshakable. Father, I know that when your rivers come, they do not flow in isolation. They carry life with them. Seeds long buried begin to open. Dormant dreams stir awake. The ground hums with quiet resurrection. Let that be true in me today. Let your spirit move through every forgotten desire, every sleeping gift, every lost joy. Let it rise again, not the same as before, but wiser, humbler, and overflowing with grace. Sometimes the river you send is not external, but inward. It begins as a shift in perspective, a small renewal of courage, a new tenderness in how I see others. Let that inner flow continue. Let it reshape how I respond to hardship, how I think about provision, how I measure success. Teach me that abundance is not the absence of struggle, but the presence of peace that refuses to dry up. Let that peace become the river that never ceases within me. Father, I bring before you the desert of this world, to the exhaustion that spreads through nations, the greed that drains compassion, the endless noise that leaves hearts parched for meaning. Pour your spirit like rain over humanity again. Refresh the weary, awaken the numb, soften what has grown hard. Let justice flow like streams through places long cracked by division. Let kindness flood the ground where anger once ruled. The earth aches for renewal. Let it come through the hearts of those willing to love as you do. As I sit in the warmth of this morning, I can almost feel the shift, the faint scent of rain carried on the wind. The promise that the drought is ending, not because everything has changed, but because I have changed. Faith has started to pulse again beneath the surface. The desert no longer feels like punishment. It feels like preparation. You are teaching me that the same God who allows the dryness also holds the keys to the floodgates, and when they open, I will not just receive, I will overflow. Father, thank you for being the well that never runs dry, the storm that revives, the gentle stream that carves life into impossible places. Let your river flow through me and through this day. Let it carry refreshment to everyone I meet. Let it remind me that every wilderness hides a promise, Every dry place waits for your rain, and every life, no matter how barren it seems, can still bloom again beneath the touch of your living water. Father, as the river of renewal flows softly through my spirit, I feel the quiet after the rain, a stillness that carries both gratitude and awe. The barren places have begun to bloom, and hope has stretched its roots deep again. Yet even in this beauty, I know that storms still come. The sky of faith is not always clear. There are days when thunder rolls across the soul, when the wind of life rises without warning, and peace trembles beneath the weight of uncertainty. Father, teach me not to fear these storms. Teach me to see the light within them, to trust that even the darkness trembles under your command. The truth is, Father, I have often prayed for calm seas more than for courage. I have asked you to remove the waves instead of teaching me to walk upon them. But as I grow in your presence, I begin to understand that storms are not always signs of punishment. Sometimes they are invitations. You do not allow tempests to destroy me, but to deepen my dependence. The wind reminds me that I am not in control. The lightning shows me what still needs surrender. The rain baptizes me again into faith that is no longer based on what I see, but on who you are. There have been times, Father, when I mistook silence for absence, when the sky turned gray and you seemed far away. I believed you had withdrawn, but now I realize that in every storm, you are closer than the wind itself. You do not always speak in thunder. Sometimes you whisper through the rain. You walk beside me through the tempest, unseen but unmistakable. Even when visibility fades, your presence does not. And when I lift my eyes, I begin to notice there is always light somewhere, hidden but alive, flickering within the storm. Father, help me to find that light when the world grows dim, when anxiety tightens its grip. Remind me that peace is not the absence of struggle, but the assurance of safety in your hands. When doubt begins to whisper that I am sinking, remind me of Peter stepping out of the boat, not because the waves ceased, because he dared to trust while they raged. Let that kind of faith rise within me. Faith that does not require calm to stay steady. Faith that holds onto your hand even when the water feels deep. There are storms that come from outside. Father, circumstances I cannot control. News I did not expect. Pain I cannot explain. But there are also storms within the ones made of worry, restlessness, and the endless whirl of thoughts that refuse to quiet. Those tempests can be louder than thunder. They shake my peace and blur my vision. Teach me to speak stillness into them, to breathe slowly until my spirit remembers the rhythm of your grace. Let the waves of emotion crash if they must, but let my faith remain anchored in you. I think of how the disciples once cried out in panic while you slept in the boat. They saw chaos. You saw control. They saw danger. You saw opportunity to reveal power. Father, I long to see storms through your eyes. Let me not interpret trouble as abandonment. Let me not rush to fear when you are already in the vessel. Help me to rest even when the waters rise, to remember that no storm lasts forever. The same hand that calms the sea also holds me steady through it. There is something sacred about storms. Father, they strip away illusion. They remind me that strength is not in pretending everything is fine, But in admitting I need you, they wash away self-reliance and reveal what truly anchors me. When the rain falls hard, and I cannot see the horizon, teach me to look inward where your spirit still burns, quietly like a lantern that no wind can extinguish. That inner flame, that steady glow of divine presence, is what keeps me from breaking. It reminds me that even when the world feels dark, the light within is stronger than the storm around. Father, there are people I love who are facing storms right now. Their voices tremble, their hope flickers, their strength wears thin. I lift them to you. Surround them with calm even before the storm ends. Let them sense that they are not alone in the wind. Speak to their hearts in ways only you can. Send help where it is needed. Comfort where it is missing. Peace where fear has taken root. Let them find light not only when skies clear, but right now. In the middle of the tempest, in the sound of rain that carries your whisper, be still. Teach me, too, Father, to be a bearer of that light for others. When I see someone caught in the storm, let my presence remind them of yours. Let my words bring shelter instead of judgment, warmth instead of distance. Show me how to hold the umbrella of grace over another's head while the rain still falls. Let me speak gently, love deeply, and walk humbly beside those who are struggling to find their way through the wind. Sometimes, Father, you calm the storm. Other times, you calm your child. And often, that quiet transformation within me becomes the very miracle I prayed for. I no longer ask for a life free of storms. I ask for faith that outlasts them. Let every gust of wind remind me that I am rooted deeper than I realized. Let every rumble of thunder remind me that you still rule the heavens. Let every flash of lightning illuminate truth that routine comfort hides. When I remember, Father, how rain nourishes the ground it once flooded, I begin to see that storms are not enemies, they are messengers. They come to cleanse, to break what needs breaking, to make room for new growth. So if today brings its own weather, let me not resist it. Let me welcome it as a teacher. Let me walk through it not with fear, but with reverence, knowing that even here, even now, you are writing renewal into the clouds. As dawn breaks beyond my window and light seeps through the fading darkness, I feel the message of the morning settle within me. Every storm ends, but its purpose remains. The air after rain smells of promise. The sky that once thundered now glows with clarity. That is what you do. Father, turn chaos into calm, despair into depth, storms into stories of survival. Father, thank you for being both the shelter and the strength, both the calm and the wind. Teach me to walk with unshaken faith, to stand firm even when the waves rise, and to remember that every storm I face becomes, in your hands, a path toward greater light. Let me carry that light forward into this day, knowing that wherever thunder sounds, your voice still speaks peace above it all. Father, after the storm has passed and the air has cleared, I feel the earth beneath my feet soft and tender again. The rain has done its work. It has washed away the dust and left behind ground that can breathe. The light now rests gently on every leaf, and the quiet hum of morning feels like renewal itself. Father, as I stand in this peace, I sense you calling me deeper, not into certainty, but into trust. The storm tested my faith, and now the calm invites it to grow roots. I understand now that peace is not just the absence of trouble. It is the presence of trust that holds even when the path ahead remains unseen. Father, trust has never come easily. I have always wanted to understand before surrendering, to see before believing. But you are teaching me that faith begins where understanding ends. There are questions that no logic can answer. And yet, there is still peace in your presence. You never asked me to solve the mystery, only to stay in it with you. Trust is the soil where miracles grow, the quiet ground where hope takes root unseen. I want to live from that soil. Father, to plant my heart in your promises even when I cannot yet see the fruit. When I look back, I see how many times you led me through places that made no sense until later. The detours, the delays, the disappointments, they were not wasted moments, but hidden lessons. I can see now that what felt like loss was sometimes protection. What felt like waiting was preparation, and what felt like silence was strategy. Father, help me remember this the next time I do not understand your ways. Let me trust not because I see results, but because I know your character. You have never failed me, even when I doubted. There are days, Father, when trust feels fragile. The world moves fast, and fear grows louder than faith. The news, the noise, the uncertainty, all of it whispers that control is safety. But you remind me that control is illusion, and that real security is found only in surrender. You ask me to walk not by sight, but by confidence in your goodness, to trust when plans unravel, when doors close, when prayers linger unanswered. That is the kind of faith that shapes character, the faith that holds even when everything else shakes. Father, I imagine trust as a garden, one that needs tending daily. There are weeds of doubt that try to creep in, vines of worry that wrap around the stems of peace. If I neglect it, anxiety grows wild, choking the flowers of faith. But when I return each morning to water it with prayer, to pull out the weeds with honesty, to sit quietly in your presence, that garden begins to thrive again. I do not have to force it to grow. I only have to make space for it. Trust, like any living thing, grows where it is nourished. Sometimes, Father, you prune the garden. You remove things I thought I needed, people, plans, comforts I held too tightly. The pruning hurts, but I know now it is love, not loss. You never cut without purpose. You trim away what hinders fruit, shaping me into something stronger, simpler, and more real. Teach me not to resist the pruning, but to see it as proof that you are still at work in me. Every branch you touch carries potential. Every cut you make carries care. Father, when I walk through this garden in my heart, I want to trust you with the seasons too. There will be springtimes of abundance, where everything blooms effortlessly. And there will be winters of stillness, where nothing seems to grow. Let me not confuse dormancy with death. Even when the surface looks bare, the roots are still alive beneath the soil, waiting for the right warmth to rise again. That is how you work in cycles. in patience, in timing that refuses to rush. So I will not demand constant summer. I will learn to love every season you bring. There are times when you invite me to trust others too. Father, to open my heart without fear of being wounded. That is hard for me. The world has taught me to protect, to withhold, to stay guarded. But you remind me that love without trust is not love at all, it is performance. So I ask for discernment, not walls, for boundaries that protect without isolating, for courage to give people the grace I have received from you. When I am disappointed, help me forgive quickly and trust wisely. When I am tempted to close off, remind me that vulnerability is not weakness, it is the soil where real connection grows. Trust also means letting go of outcomes. Father, I confess that I often pray with expectations already attached. I tell you what I want instead of asking for what is right. But you know the end from the beginning, and you see what I cannot. So teach me to pray not to persuade you, but to align with you, to say not make it my way, but make me ready for yours. Let my faith mature beyond outcomes, resting not in what you give, but in who you are. Father, when I think about trust, I think of the garden in Gethsemane where your son knelt under the weight of sorrow, yet still whispered, "Not my will but yours." That is the purest form of faith, not denying the pain, but surrendering it. I want that kind of trust, a trust that breathes peace in uncertainty, that worships in the dark, that still believes in the goodness of a plan unseen. That trust does not come overnight. It grows slowly, watered by tears and light alike. But I know you are patient, and you will keep tending the soil until it blooms. As the morning sun rises higher and the light touches every corner of the earth, I realize that trust looks like this sunrise, gentle, inevitable, certain. It does not rush to appear. It simply arrives because it cannot not. You designed it that way, and so too. Father, you are teaching me that trust is not a moment. It is a rhythm. It begins in surrender and continues in faith until peace becomes as natural as breathing. Father, thank you for walking with me through every season, for planting this garden of trust within my soul. Let it grow quietly today, resilient and alive. Let its fragrance calm my heart when fear tries to return. Let its beauty draw others toward hope. And when the storms of life come again, as they always, let me remember the roots that hold beneath the surface, the gardener who never leaves, and the truth that trust is not fragile when it rests in you. Father, as the morning deepens and the garden of trust still breathes softly within my heart, I feel a quiet hunger rising, not the hunger of the body, of the soul. Trust has rooted me, but now I need nourishment for the walk ahead. The path of faith is long and winding, and though my spirit is willing, it still tires. Father, I come to you now asking for strength, for daily bread, not only the kind that sustains the flesh, but the kind that feeds the heart, the mind, and the hope that keeps me walking when the way is uncertain. You taught me, Father, that your provision is not always extravagant, but it is always enough. In the wilderness, you gave manna each day, no more, no less. It could not be hoarded. It had to be gathered fresh with the morning dew. That truth humbles me. I often want assurance for tomorrow, but you give sustenance for today. You invite me to live in the rhythm of daily dependence, to wake each morning and gather what I need from your grace, to trust that when tomorrow dawns, there will be more waiting. Teach me to live like that again. Father present, grateful, content. Sometimes I forget, in my striving, that I am not meant to feed myself with effort alone. The world teaches self-sufficiency as a virtue, but you remind me that true strength comes from surrender. I cannot live on plans and ambitions. I live on every word that proceeds from your mouth. Your word is bread. Your presence is nourishment. Every whisper of your truth fills the emptiness that success cannot reach. I need more of that kind of sustenance. Father, the kind that fills without feeding pride, the kind that satisfies without numbing hunger for what is holy. There are days when my spirit feels thin, when prayer feels like routine and hope feels distant. On those mornings, I come to you empty, and you never turn me away. You do not scold my weakness. You meet it. You break the bread of grace in your hands and place it gently into mine, reminding me that dependence is not failure, it is intimacy. You are the source, and I am the vessel. The more I lean on you, the stronger I become. It is not effort that sustains me. It is encounter. Father, I also ask you to feed my mind with wisdom today. There is so much noise, so many opinions disguised as truth, so many distractions that promise nourishment but leave only emptiness behind. Help me discern what truly feeds and what only fills. Let my thoughts feast on what is good, what is pure, what is eternal. When negativity tempts me, help me turn instead toward gratitude. When fear tries to eat away at peace, help me remember your promises are my true food. And when pride whispers that I know enough, remind me that learning from you never ends. Feed my emotions too. Father, there are times when the heart feels starved for kindness, for belonging, for assurance that I matter. You know those quiet cravings. You understand the loneliness that sometimes follows, even in the midst of people. Remind me that your love is not a portion, it is abundance. I am never forgotten at your table. You prepare a place for me each morning, not as a guest but as a child returning home. Every moment I sit with you, I eat of peace that no circumstance can take away. Father, the bread you give is not only for me to consume but to share. There are hungry hearts everywhere, people walking through the day with silent emptiness, unaware that their souls are starving. Give me compassion to notice them. Let my words be nourishment, not noise. Let my kindness feed weary spirits. Let my forgiveness break chains heavier than hunger. You never bless me to keep it. You bless me to become a blessing. Teach me to share what I have been fed, to give encouragement, hope, and presence as freely as I have received them from you. Sometimes, Father, your provision looks different from what I expect. I have prayed for bread and been handed seeds instead. At first, I did not understand, but now I see you were teaching me patience. You were teaching me to plant, to water, to wait. Some blessings are not delivered. They are cultivated. Help me to trust the slow process of your provision, to believe that even when I see nothing sprouting, something is growing beneath the soil. There is a deeper truth I am learning. Father, that you yourself are the bread, not just the giver of provision, but the provision itself. When I seek you, I find not a portion, but a person. The answer to hunger is not more things. It is more of you. Every other source fades, but your presence satisfies the deepest cravings of my spirit. To know you is to be full, even when life feels incomplete. I think of how Jesus broke the loaves and fed thousands from what seemed too little. That miracle still whispers today that lack is not a problem when gratitude comes first. It was in the act of giving thanks that abundance began. Father, teach me to do the same when resources feel small. Let gratitude multiply them. When energy feels depleted, let praise restore it. When possibilities seem scarce, let faith open new doors. Help me remember that what I place in your hands never stays the same. You break it, bless it, and make it more than enough. As I prepare to walk into this day, Father, I carry this prayer like daily bread, simple, sacred, sustaining. Let me not rush through it. Let me chew slowly on truth. Let me remember that spiritual nourishment often comes through quiet moments, the pause before a decision, the deep breath after disappointment, the silence between prayers. Feed me there, in those small spaces where the world cannot intrude. Let your spirit become the invisible meal that keeps me strong when circumstances try to drain me. And Father, when evening comes, and I look back on this day, let me find no famine of grace. Let me see that you were faithful in every hour, that each worry was met with provision, each need with supply, each hunger with satisfaction. Let me end the day not exhausted, but fulfilled, knowing that I have eaten from the table of your mercy and drank from the cup of your love. Father, thank you for being the bread that never grows stale, the nourishment that never runs out. As I step forward, let my soul stay fed, my heart stay grateful, and my spirit stay strong. Wherever I go, let me carry your abundance within me, sharing freely with those still searching for sustenance, until every hunger of this world learns that true satisfaction lives not in having more, but in knowing you. Father, as I carry the nourishment of your presence from the last prayer, I feel a deep quietness unfolding inside me. The bread you gave has filled me, not with noise or striving, but with peace. Yet within that peace, there is something deeper, calling, a voice softer than breath, a whisper that waits beyond words. Father, I sense you inviting me not to do, not to speak, but to listen, to step beyond activity into awareness, beyond asking into abiding. For in stillness, I find what no sound can teach. Father, it is not easy to be still. The world moves fast, and so does my mind. Even in silence, my thoughts rush like rivers' plans. Worries, unfinished, honest conversations, lingering hopes. I sit down to pray, and before I know it, I am already chasing tomorrow. But you are not found in the rush. You wait in the quiet. The whisper of your spirit is not hidden. It is simply quieter than everything else that demands attention. So I ask you now, Father, to quiet me. Let the noise inside me fall away like dust settling after a long storm. Teach me to be still enough to hear you again. Sometimes I imagine, Father, what it must have been like for Elijah on the mountain, how he waited for your presence in the wind, in the earthquake, in the fire, and found you instead in a whisper. That story always humbles me. I look for you in the dramatic, but you often come in gentleness. You are not absent in the silence. You are hidden within it. It is there that you remind me that relationship with you is not built on spectacle, but on stillness. And in that stillness, truth becomes clearer than thunder. Father, teach me to listen with my heart, not just my ears. The world's noise is loud, but your language is subtle. It speaks in conviction that feels like warmth, in comfort that arrives without explanation, in peace that descends like evening light. Your voice does not compete. It invites. It does not command. It calls. It moves not through pressure, but through presence. Help me to know that voice so intimately that I can recognize it even in the middle of chaos. Let it become my compass, my comfort, and my guide. There are days when I have mistaken silence for distance. I have thought you were quiet because you had nothing to say, but now I realize that silence is often the language of depth. You speak when you want to reveal, and you stay quiet when you want me to grow. Sometimes your silence is not absence, but trusting that I already carry what you have spoken before. And even in that quiet, you are shaping me, teaching me patience, teaching me to hear the difference between the noise of fear and the music of faith. Father, I remember how even Jesus often withdrew to lonely places to pray. He did not avoid the crowd because he did not care. He stepped away because intimacy requires solitude. Teach me to do the same, to withdraw not from responsibility, but from distraction. Let me find you not only in temples or gatherings, but in the spaces between the morning stillness before the world wakes, the pause between tasks, the quiet drive home when my heart finally exhales. Let those moments become sacred again, not filled with obligation, but with awareness that you are there. In this stillness, Father, I begin to hear what I could not before, the small reassurances that remind me I am loved, the quiet correction that steers me gently back when I wander, the nudge to forgive, to speak kindness, to wait without complaint. None of these come as demands. They come as whispers of grace. And as I listen, I realize that your voice does not simply speak truth. It restores it within me. It realigns what worry has bent. It smooths what fear has tightened. It brings harmony where my thoughts once clashed. Father, there are times when your voice comes not in words, but in awareness, in the way sunlight filters through leaves, in the rhythm of my own breath, in the sense of calm that follows confession. That, too, is you. You are not confined to sentences. You are present in silence that holds meaning beyond explanation. Help me not to chase the supernatural and miss the sacred that already surrounds me. Every moment holds the potential for encounter if I am willing to listen differently. Stillness, Father, is not empty. It is full of your nearness, full of unseen movement, full of quiet creation happening in places I cannot see. It is in stillness that roots grow deep, that wounds begin to close, that clarity rises like mist from the surface of confusion. Let me not mistake motion for progress. Teach me that sometimes the holiest act is to stop to breathe, to listen, to let your presence settle over me like a soft cloak of peace. Father, I bring to you the part of me that resists stillness, the part that fears what might surface in silence. In the quiet, I often meet myself, the insecurities I avoid, the emotions I bury, the questions I postpone. But even that confrontation is grace, for you do not expose to shame. You reveal to heal. Let me trust that your voice, even when it convicts, always carries compassion. Let your whisper remind me that transformation is not forced, it is invited. When I listen deeply, I begin to notice that your voice does not only speak to me, but through me. It flows in how I respond to others with patience, with empathy, with restraint. Every act of kindness becomes a way of echoing what I have heard from you. Every moment of mercy becomes a translation of your language into life. Let that be my prayer. Father, not only to hear you, but to become a reflection of what I have heard. And as I move through this day, I know the noise will return the conversations, the responsibilities, the screens, the demands. But even there, I carry this stillness with me. It becomes like an inner sanctuary. Untouched by the outer world, I can return to it any time to breathe, to remember, to reconnect. The stillness is not escape. It is empowerment. It is where I find my balance, my direction, my calm center in the chaos. Father, thank you for speaking in ways the world cannot drown out. Thank you for reminding me that hearing you is not about effort, but about presence. Let my heart remain tuned to your frequency, sensitive to the quiet beauty of your whispers. Let me walk through this day aware that every silence can hold your voice, and that every breath, if I listen carefully, might just be the sound of you drawing near once again. Father, as the stillness of your voice settles into my spirit, I feel a deep awareness unfolding within me. Listening has awakened something new, an understanding that hearing is only the beginning. The whisper of your truth calls not for admiration, but for action. Father, I sense you inviting me to take what I have heard in the quiet and live it out in the noise of the world. The next step after stillness is obedience, not the obedience of fear, but of love, not blind submission, but joyful alignment. Teach me to walk the path where hearing becomes doing, and where faith becomes movement. Father, obedience has often been misunderstood in my heart. I used to think it meant losing freedom, but now I see it is the very essence of it. Obedience does not chain. It liberates. It frees me from the tyranny of self-will, from the exhausting need to control every outcome. It allows me to move in rhythm with you, not against you. When I follow where you lead, I discover that surrender is not defeat, it is peace. And the more I trust that your ways are higher than mine, the more courage I find to let go of what I cannot comprehend. Sometimes, Father, Your instructions are clear yet challenging. You call me to forgive when pride resists, to love when it feels undeserved, to give when I fear scarcity, to speak truth when silence feels safer. In those moments, obedience stretches me. It exposes the places still ruled by fear. Yet I have learned that every act of obedience, no matter how small, carries transformation within it. Each yes to you reshapes the heart a little more into your likeness, even when obedience costs something comfort. Reputation. Certainty it always returns something greater. Freedom, strength, and the quiet joy of walking in step with you. Father, there are times when obedience requires walking in the dark, when I cannot see the next turn or understand the reason behind the command. It is then that trust must become my lantern. You never promise that the path will be illuminated all at once, only that there will be enough light for the next step. And that is enough, because you walk beside me. Help me not to hesitate in the half-light, not to wait for full understanding before moving forward. The miracle often meets the motion. The blessing often waits on the other side of obedience. I remember the story of Abraham, who followed without knowing where the path would lead. His journey was not comfortable, but it was sacred. You asked for trust before explanation, and he found revelation through obedience. Father, help me carry that same spirit, not a reluctant obedience that waits for proof, but a willing one that moves because it knows the voice that called. I do not need to understand every command. I only need to know it comes from you. There are moments when obedience feels heavy because it goes against the world's rhythm. The culture around me celebrates independence, while you invite dependence. The world praises instant results, while you honor patient faithfulness. Teach me to choose obedience even when it looks foolish to others, to remain steadfast when shortcuts tempt me, to measure success not by applause, but by alignment. True obedience is quiet, steady, and unseen, but its fruit endures when all else fades. Father, obedience is also an act of listening beyond myself. Sometimes you speak through the needs of others, through the pain of a stranger, through the nudge to act when it would be easier to look away. Help me recognize those moments as invitations, not interruptions. Let compassion move me quickly. Without debate, teach me to respond not with hesitation, but with readiness to be your hands in motion, your kindness embodied. When you say go, let my heart already be moving in the direction of love. There are seasons when obedience asks for waiting rather than walking. That, too, is difficult for me. My nature prefers motion to stillness, results to rest. But even waiting can be obedience when it is done in faith. When you say not yet, help me to remain steady instead of restless. Waiting is not inactivity. It is preparation. In those pauses, you are refining motives, aligning desires, strengthening endurance. Obedience is not measured only by speed, but by steadfastness. Father, I ask you to make obedience not a discipline I dread, but a delight I desire. Let it flow naturally from love, not obligation. You do not seek compliance. You seek communion. Every act of obedience becomes a conversation between my heart and yours, a dialogue of trust, a declaration that I believe you know what is best. The more I obey, the more I learn that your commands are not burdens, but blessings in disguise. They are boundaries that protect, directions that preserve, invitations that fulfill. Still, I know there will be moments when obedience feels lonely, when others do not understand the choice, when faith looks strange to those who measure life differently. In those moments, Father, be my reassurance. Remind me that I walk with the one who never misleads. Let my focus remain not on who questions me, but on who called me. The sound of your voice must always outweigh the echo of the crowd. I have discovered, Father, that obedience does not end in achievement, it ends in intimacy. Every time I choose your way, I draw nearer to you. Every sacrifice becomes sacred. Every surrender becomes sanctuary. I begin to see that your will is not an external command, but an internal harmony. When my spirit aligns with yours, I find joy that no circumstance can diminish. This is the path I want to walk, not one of duty, but of delight, not of striving, but of surrender. As this day unfolds, I know there will be countless small choices, some quiet, some obvious, that will test this prayer in how I speak, how I think, how I respond. Let obedience become instinct. Let my actions reflect your wisdom without resistance. Let me walk as one who does not need to see every step to know the way is sure. And when I falter, remind me that grace is not the opposite of obedience. It is the strength that makes it possible. Father, thank you for calling me not into perfection, but into partnership. Let this day become a living conversation between your will and my willingness. Teach me that obedience is not a task to accomplish, but a rhythm to live by, a rhythm that turns every ordinary moment into worship, every decision into devotion, and every step into a quiet yes that echoes through eternity. Father, as I continue walking this quiet road of obedience, I can feel something beginning to burn within me, a warmth that is neither fleeting emotion nor passing inspiration, but a deeper flame you yourself have kindled. The more I listen, the more I obey, the more this fire grows, not wild or consuming, but steady, alive, and full of meaning. Father, I know this is not my own ambition reignited. It is purpose, shaped by your hands, purified by surrender, and awakened by love. You are teaching me that obedience opens the door to calling, and calling, when embraced, becomes fire, a holy fire that lights the path for others and keeps the heart alive. Father, for so long I confused purpose with performance. I thought it was something to achieve, something that could be measured or compared. But now I see that purpose is not about doing more, it is about becoming more of who you created me to be. It is not found in striving, but in aligning. True purpose is not built on applause, but on assignment. You have written it quietly in the DNA of my spirit, and through every step of obedience, you are revealing it little by little. The more I walk with you, the more I realize that calling is not something I chase. It is something I grow into. Sometimes, Father, I wonder why you placed certain desires within me, dreams that seem too big, burdens that feel too heavy, or gifts that I do not yet know how to use. But now I understand that divine purpose often starts as longing. It is your whisper planted in the soil of my heart, waiting for obedience to water it. Those desires are not random. They are seeds. You never give without intention. Never ignite without reason. Help me nurture what you have entrusted patiently, humbly, without comparing my flame to another's. Let me remember that every purpose has its timing, and that even fire needs tending to burn rightly. Father, I confess there have been seasons when the fire dimmed, when disappointment poured like rain, when waiting stretched too long, when I questioned whether the passion, once burning, bright, had gone out for good. But you have shown me that even when flames fade, embers remain. Purpose does not die. It rests, waiting for the breath of your spirit to awaken it again. Today, I feel that breath. I sense you stirring what once felt dormant, reminding me that the call you placed within me is still alive. The fire has not been lost, it has been refined. Father, teach me to steward this fire well. Let it not become arrogance disguised as zeal or chaos mistaken for calling. Let it burn clean, pure with intention, quiet with humility, bold with love. Purpose without compassion becomes pride, but purpose fueled by grace becomes light. I do not want to burn for recognition. I want to burn for transformation. Let the light that shines from my life not draw attention to me, but reveal you in everything I do. There are times, Father, when following purpose feels lonely. Not everyone sees the same vision. Not everyone understands the same call. It is easy to doubt myself when the path feels narrow and the world pulls toward comfort. But you remind me that calling is rarely convenient. You call your children to carry light into places where darkness has forgotten what light feels like. You ask for endurance, not applause. You ask for faithfulness, not fame. And so, when I feel misunderstood or unseen, remind me that the fire within me was never meant for approval. It was meant for impact. Father, show me how to weave purpose into the fabric of ordinary moments. It is easy to believe purpose exists only in grand gestures, but you reveal it in the smallest acts, in a word of kindness, in a moment of patience, in a choice to forgive when anger feels justified. The fire of purpose burns not only on stages, but in kitchens, in offices, in quiet corners where no one sees but you. Let me live each day aware that every action, when done in love, becomes sacred. The difference between the ordinary and the divine is not the task itself, but the heart that carries it. I know, Father, that purpose often comes with pressure. With every calling comes resistance, internal doubt, external opposition, unseen fatigue. Sometimes it feels easier to let the fire fade than to keep tending it. But remind me that purpose is not about ease. It is about endurance. The flame grows strongest when it is protected through perseverance. Give me resilience when obstacles arise. Let the heat of challenge refine rather than consume. When fear whispers that I am unqualified, let faith answer that you never call the qualified. You qualify the called. Father, there are people around me whose flames are flickering. They have lost their sense of why, their sense of direction, their sense of hope. Use me to help rekindle their fire. Let my words become sparks of encouragement, my presence a shelter from wind, my faith a reminder that no one's fire is beyond revival. You did not light our lives for competition, but for connection, each flame adding to the other until the world becomes brighter. Let my purpose always include helping others find theirs. Sometimes I think about how Jesus walked through his purpose, not rushed, not anxious, but unwavering. He knew who he was, why he came, and what he had to give. His fire was steady, never desperate. That is what I want to learn. Father, not to burn out in zeal, but to burn on in faith. Let purpose be my rhythm, not my race. Let it flow with grace, anchored in peace, fueled by your spirit. As I sit in this morning light, I realize that purpose is not a destination to reach. It is a way of being. It is walking each day in awareness that my life belongs to something greater than itself. It is carrying light not as a performance but as identity. And when I live like that, every breath becomes worship, every action becomes ministry, and every day becomes part of a divine story still unfolding through me. Father, thank you for entrusting me with this sacred fire. Keep it steady, keep it pure, keep it alive. Let it light my path and warm the hearts of those around me. And when the day ends and the light of this world dims, let it be said that I lived not just with purpose, but from it that I did not chase the fire, but carried it faithfully until every step of my journey burned with the quiet, steady glow of your eternal call. Father, as the fire of purpose continues to glow within me, I begin to see its truest form. It is not meant to shine only for achievement, but to give warmth through compassion. The deeper I walk in purpose, the clearer I see that love is its center and compassion its language. Without it, purpose becomes noise, service becomes duty, and life loses tenderness. Father, I realize that the measure of a heart close to you is not how much it knows, but how deeply it cares. So this morning, I come asking you to enlarge my heart, to teach me again the art of compassion, the grace of seeing as you see, of feeling as you feel, of loving beyond what is easy. Father, compassion has always been your signature. It flows through every story of your word, every gesture of mercy, every act of redemption. You do not look at pain from a distance. You enter it. You do not merely observe suffering. You transform it through love. You bend down to lift the broken, touch the untouchable, and listen to the unheard. Your compassion does not calculate worth. It simply gives. I long to live like that, to see the invisible, to pause where others hurry, to love without reason except that you first loved me. But I confess, Father, compassion does not always come easily. The world hardens hearts with disappointment. We learn to protect ourselves by turning away, to numb our empathy because feeling too deeply hurts. There are moments when I see suffering and look away, not because I do not care, but because I feel powerless. Yet you remind me that compassion is not about fixing everything. It is about being present. To care is already to heal. To notice is already to affirm that a person matters. Teach me that I do not need to have all the answers to be a vessel of comfort. I only need to show up with sincerity. Father, give me eyes that truly see. Help me look beyond appearances, beyond the anger that hides pain, the pride that masks fear, the silence that conceals loneliness. The people I pass each day carry burdens I cannot imagine. Let me not hurry past them too quickly. Let me see the person behind the problem, the story behind the struggle. Give me the courage to meet the gaze of those the world overlooks, and the humility to recognize that I, too, have been carried by the compassion of others. There are times, Father, when compassion will cost me something: my time, my comfort, my convenience. Let me not hesitate then. Love that costs nothing changes little. When you moved among us, your compassion was not polite. It was powerful. It disrupted routines, crossed boundaries, and challenged comfort zones. You touched lepers, dined with outcasts, forgave enemies. That kind of compassion shakes the world because it comes from heaven. Let me not settle for sympathy when you are calling me to sacrifice. Help me love not in sentiment but in action, not in moments but in manner, not just with words but with the weight of my own heart. Father, I know compassion also means forgiving. It means looking at those who have hurt me and choosing mercy over resentment. That is not easy. The instinct to protect myself, to hold on to wounds, feels safer than vulnerability. But bitterness is a cage that traps only me. You showed me through your Son that compassion does not wait for apology. It flows even from the cross. Teach me that forgiveness is not weakness, but freedom. Let my compassion extend even to those who cannot return it. Only then will I understand the fullness of love that bears no condition. Father, I ask too for compassion toward myself. I am quick to extend grace to others, but harsh in my own failures. When I stumble, I speak to myself in words I would never speak to someone else. Yet you, in your tenderness, never condemn me. You lift, correct, and restore with gentleness. Teach me to treat my own soul with that same kindness. Let me remember that self-compassion is not self-pity. It is cooperation with your grace. Only when I receive love freely can I give it without exhaustion. There is another truth, Father, that compassion is not always soft. Sometimes it must be brave. It must speak truth that challenges, intervene where silence would harm, stand for justice when indifference would be easier. Compassion without courage is sentiment. Compassion with courage becomes transformation. Let me not confuse gentleness with weakness. Let my love carry strength, my empathy carry wisdom, my mercy carry conviction. Give me discernment to know when comfort heals and when truth is the deeper kindness. Father, let compassion flow through every part of my life, through how I listen, how I lead, how I work, how I respond. Let it soften my tone, guide my choices, and steady my emotions. When others approach me, let them leave lighter, not heavier. Let my presence bring calm, not chaos. Reassurance, not judgment. And when I fail in this, remind me that compassion is not perfection, persistence a daily returning to love after every lapse in patience or understanding. I see now, Father, that compassion is not something I add to my faith. It is the essence of it. To know you is to love. To love you is to love others. Every act of compassion, no matter how small, becomes a thread in the fabric of redemption. A word of kindness may change a life. A listening ear may save a soul from despair. In a world obsessed with greatness, you teach me that the greatest among us are those who serve, who stoop low enough to lift another. As this morning light grows stronger, I feel you reminding me that compassion is contagious. It multiplies through presence. When one heart chooses kindness, another awakens. When one act of grace is offered, hope ripples outward. That is how your kingdom grows, not through grand gestures, but through quiet faithfulness, through ordinary moments made extraordinary by love. Let me be part of that ripple today. Father, thank you for letting me carry a portion of your heart. Let compassion be my rhythm as I move through this day. Let it lead my steps where need is hidden, my words where healing is possible, my silence where listening is holy. And when the day ends, let me look back not on what I have achieved, but on whom I have loved well, for love, in the end, is the only purpose that never fades and the truest reflection of the one who lives within me. Father, after walking through the fire of purpose and the tenderness of compassion, I find myself standing in a new kind of stillness, a peace that feels deeper than calm, stronger than comfort, and steadier than circumstance. Father, this peace does not come from a world that changes, but from a heart that has been changed. It is not the quiet after the storm, but the quiet within it. And as I sit here, in this sacred morning, I realize that everything you have been teaching me, trust, obedience, purpose, compassion, has been leading me here, to this holy center where peace becomes both promise and presence. Father, the peace you give is not fragile. It does not depend on everything going right. It stands firm even when life does not. It is the kind of peace that cannot be stolen, because it does not belong to this world. The peace of the world depends on control, but yours depends on surrender. The peace of the world fades with fear, but yours deepens in it. Teach me to rest in this truth, Father, that I do not need to understand everything to be unshaken. I only need to trust that you do. There have been seasons, Father, when peace felt like a distant memory, when anxiety ruled the mornings, when sleep carried the weight of worry, when every small uncertainty felt like a mountain. I chased relief through distraction, through answers, through effort, and yet it always slipped away. But then you whispered softly, reminding me that peace is not found in fixing, but in yielding. You did not ask me to solve my fears. You asked me to bring them to you. It was not resolution that freed me, it was release. And in that surrender, peace began to grow quietly, like dawn returning after a long night. Father, I see now that peace is not the absence of tension, but the presence of alignment. When my heart beats in rhythm with yours, when my will bows to your wisdom, anxiety loses its power. The storm outside may roar, but inside, stillness holds. You are the anchor that keeps me grounded when emotions rise, the calm center around which my world can turn without collapse. Teach me to return to this center again and again, not once for all, but every day, every hour if needed. Let peace become my posture, not my prize. There are days, Father, when people or circumstances try to pull me out of that peace. Words spoken in haste, plans disrupted without warning, moments of injustice or misunderstanding, all of them test my composure. In those moments, remind me that peace is a choice, not a reaction. It is not given to me only when life cooperates. It is something I choose to guard and nurture. Help me not to surrender my peace to what others say or do. Let me remember that no one can take from me what you have placed within me. Father, peace also means forgiving quickly. When resentment tries to rise, it unsettles the heart and clouds the mind. You cannot pour new blessings into a vessel still full of bitterness. Help me empty it daily. Let forgiveness not be a reluctant duty, but a reflex of peace. The quicker I release offense, the longer peace can stay. Remind me that holding grudges is like holding my breath. I can survive it for a moment, but not for long. Peace returns when grace flows freely. There are moments, too, Father, when peace feels almost defiant, when the world expects panic but faith stands calm. In those moments, I realize that peace is not passive. It is power. It silences chaos without fighting it. It disarms fear without argument. It speaks louder than noise by refusing to shout. This peace is the quiet authority of trust, the strength that does not need to prove itself. When I carry this peace into the world, it changes the atmosphere. Others feel it even if they cannot name it. That is how your kingdom spreads, not through dominance, but through presence. Father, let me become a carrier of peace wherever I go. Let my words soothe instead of stir, my tone calm instead of cut. When others walk in anxiety, let them find rest near me, because I have found rest in you. Let my reactions reflect your stability, not my circumstances. When conversations grow tense, let my voice be steady. When environments grow heavy, let my spirit bring lightness. Make me a vessel of quiet strength, a reflection of heaven's calm on earth's chaos. Peace also teaches patience. Father, it allows me to wait without worry, to work without rushing, to hope without desperation. When answers delay, peace reminds me that waiting with you is not wasted time. Every season has purpose. Every pause has meaning. Let peace slow me down when I am tempted to force what must unfold naturally. Teach me that stillness is not stagnation, it is faith at rest. There is another kind of peace. Father, the peace that comes through acceptance. Sometimes you do not change the circumstance. You change my perspective. You teach me to see beauty in what remains, to find gratitude in what is left, to stop fighting what I cannot fix. Acceptance is not giving up. It is giving over. It is saying, even this, Lord, you can use. That realization frees me from the exhausting need to control outcomes and allows peace to do its quiet work of healing. Father, when I think of the peace of Jesus, I am in awe. He carried calm through storms, through crowds, through betrayal, through the cross itself. His peace was not circumstantial, it was unshakable, because it was rooted in communion with you. That is the peace I long for, not fragile relief that depends on conditions, but a steady river flowing beneath every change. Let that same river run through me now, through every conversation, every decision, every uncertainty. Let it guard my heart and guide my steps. As the morning sun continues to rise, I feel this truth settle into my spirit. Peace is not something I must chase. It is someone I must stay close to. You are peace itself. When I abide in you, peace abides in me. It is not earned but inherited, not borrowed but born of relationship. Even when the world trembles, I can rest knowing that nothing outside can undo what you have secured inside. Father, thank you for this peace that cannot be taken, for the quiet that outlasts the noise, for the calm that outshines the chaos, for the stillness that reminds me I am held. As I step into the day, let me carry this peace like fragrance, subtle, steady, and undeniable. Let it fill every space I enter until hearts remember that even in a restless world, your peace remains. Unbroken, unending, and entirely enough. Father, the peace you have planted within me has become a shelter for my soul, a quiet strength that steadies me when the world trembles. Yet even in peace, Father, I know the journey is not over. Life keeps moving, and with each new sunrise comes both beauty and battle. Peace gives me stillness, but now I ask for stamina, for the strength to keep going, to persevere with grace, to stand when the path stretches long and the horizon fades. The road of faith is not always easy, but it is always sacred, and I know that every step forward, no matter how small, is another echo of trust in your unfailing presence. Father, strength is a word I have often misunderstood. I once thought it meant pushing harder, proving more, never showing weakness. But you are teaching me a gentler truth, that real strength is not the absence of struggle, but the courage to continue in it. Strength is the quiet persistence that prays when words feel heavy, that forgives when it hurts, that hopes again when disappointment whispers otherwise. It is not loud or proud. It is steady, resilient, born from dependence, not defiance. My strength does not come from willpower. It comes from you. There are mornings when I wake feeling weary before the day begins, when the thought of another routine, another challenge, another unseen battle feels too much. Yet you remind me, Father, that I do not need to carry the whole day at once. You give grace moment by moment, strength breath by breath. The same hand that shaped the sunrise will shape my endurance. The same power that holds the stars will hold my spirit steady. I am not asked to conquer the mountain, only to take the next faithful step. Father, I remember that even your son grew tired. He rested by wells. He slept through storms. He wept when sorrow touched his heart. If the perfect one needed renewal, how much more do I? Give me the humility to rest when I must, to breathe deeply without guilt, to know that pausing is not quitting, it is wisdom. Strength grows not only through effort, but through restoration. Let me not confuse business with purpose or exhaustion with devotion. You never asked me to burn out for you. You asked me to burn brightly through you. There are battles, Father, that are not fought on the outside, but within the quiet fatigue of the mind, the unspoken ache of the heart, the invisible weight of waiting. Sometimes perseverance is not about running. It is about remaining. It is choosing faith when feelings fail, choosing gratitude when nothing seems to change, choosing love when weariness tempts withdrawal. Give me that kind of endurance, the strength to stay faithful in the unseen, to keep sowing even when harvest seems far away, to believe that every hidden act of faithfulness is seen by you. Father, I also ask for the strength to rise after falling. There are days when I fail to be patient, when my words fall short of kindness, when I lose sight of grace. In those moments, shame tries to anchor me in defeat. But you never define me by a single stumble. You invite me to stand again. You lift me gently and remind me that failure is not final. It is simply another chance to return to you. Let my mistakes become lessons. My setbacks become soil for growth. Give me the courage to begin again as many times as it takes. The strength I need most, Father, is not the kind that moves mountains, but the kind that keeps faith while standing before them. It is easy to believe when the path is smooth, but harder when the way grows steep and the air grows thin. In those moments, let me remember that you walk beside me. When I feel weak, remind me that your power is perfected there. Strength is not found in my grip on you, but in yours on me, and that grip never loosens. Father, sometimes perseverance means continuing to love when love is not returned, to serve when no one notices, to believe when promises seem delayed. That kind of endurance feels costly, but it is the love that changes the world. Remind me that you never waste effort done in faith. Every unseen sacrifice becomes part of the greater story you are writing. The strength to keep going is not about finishing perfectly, it is about finishing faithfully. Help me also to draw strength from the community around me. You never intended for me to walk alone. There is power in shared burdens, in quiet prayers whispered together, in encouragement that restores courage. When my flame flickers, send someone to shield it. When theirs flickers, let me do the same. Strength grows when it is shared. Teach me to lean not only on you, but also on those you have placed along the journey. For together we reflect the image of the body that endures through love. Father, I know that the greatest endurance is not physical but spiritual, the ability to keep believing in goodness when the world grows cynical, to keep forgiving when resentment feels justified, to keep showing kindness when bitterness would be easier. That is the strength I desire. The endurance to remain gentle in a hard world, to remain hopeful in a tired one, to remain faithful in a doubting one. Let me not become hardened by disappointment or distracted by noise. Keep my heart soft even when life feels rough, steady even when the winds of uncertainty blow. When I feel like giving up, Father, remind me of all the times you sustained me before. Remind me of prayers you answered in silence, of storms you calmed slowly, of burdens that felt unbearable until you lifted them. Let memory become my motivation. Each past deliverance is proof that I can endure this moment too. What you started, you will finish. What you promised, you will fulfill. And as the day unfolds, Let me not rely on adrenaline or emotion, but on grace. Grace that renews quietly. Grace that strengthens gently. Grace that whispers, "You can keep going." Let me measure strength, not by how much I accomplish, but by how faithfully I keep trusting. Let perseverance become worship. Let endurance become praise. Let resilience become a reflection of your sustaining love. Father, thank you for being my strength when I am weary, my courage when I am afraid, my endurance when I falter. As I step forward today, let my spirit walk steadily, not hurriedly. Let my heart remain hopeful, not hardened. And when I reach the end of this day, let me look back and see not how strong I was, but how present you have been guiding, guarding, and giving me just enough strength to keep going, one faithful breath at a time. Father, as I walk forward with the strength you have given, I find myself entering a quieter, deeper part of the journey, a valley not of defeat, but of reflection. After the long road of faith, perseverance, and hope, there comes a time when the path descends into stillness, when the air feels heavy but sacred, when the heart must learn not only to climb, but also to dwell. Father, I sense that this valley is not meant to break me, but to bless me. It is here, in the shadowed places, that your light becomes most visible. It is here that I learn not just to keep going, but to keep glowing. Father, there was a time when I feared valleys. I saw them as evidence of distance, as punishment for weakness, as places where joy disappears. But you have been teaching me that valleys are not voids of your presence, they are classrooms of your love. The mountaintop reveals your glory, but the valley reveals your grace. It is here that I discover who I am when everything else falls silent. It is here that faith stops being theory and becomes breath. You never promised me a life without valleys. You promised to walk through them with me, and that promise is enough. There are mornings, Father, when the valley feels heavy, when prayers feel unanswered, when the sky seems unmoved, when peace feels far. In those moments, I am tempted to mistake silence for absence. But you remind me gently that silence can also be sacred. Sometimes you speak most clearly when you say nothing at all. You teach me to listen differently, to hear through stillness, to trust through quiet, to believe without evidence. The light of faith shines brightest when the world grows dim. Father, the valley is not only a place of shadows, but also of shaping. The soil here is fertile, watered by tears that once fell in confusion. You use what hurt me to heal me, what scared me to strengthen me. You take the very things that once made me tremble and turn them into testimonies of endurance. I am learning that growth rarely happens in comfort. It happens here in the unseen, in the waiting, in the wrestle. The roots of faith deepen where sunlight does not always reach. The valley that once felt like loss is slowly becoming the ground of transformation. Still, Father, there are moments when the darkness feels close, when hope flickers like a candle in the wind. In those times, remind me that light does not vanish, it only hides to test the heart's memory. Teach me to look not outward, but inward. For you have placed your light within me. It is small yet steady, fragile yet fierce, and it never truly goes out. The same light that guided me on mountaintops burns quietly here in the valley. It whispers, "Keep walking. Keep believing. Dawn is already on its way. Father, help me see beauty even here. The valley holds lessons the heights cannot. It slows me down, teaches me tenderness, deepens compassion for those who walk their own low roads. When I pass through shadows, I learn to recognize the sound of wary footsteps beside me. I begin to understand that others too carry unseen burdens. Let my own valley teach me empathy. Let the comfort you give me here become comfort I can give to others. The valley may humble me, but humility is the beginning of wisdom. There are nights, Father, when I lift my eyes and see only a sliver of light between the hills. Yet even that small gleam is enough to remind me that morning always comes. The valley is not forever. Its shadows are temporary, its lessons eternal. Every step through darkness leads closer to dawn. Let me not hurry through it out of fear. Let me walk slowly enough to see what you are revealing, to gather the treasures that only low places hold, the patience that cannot be learned elsewhere, the gratitude that grows only through lack, the trust that is forged when vision fades. Father, sometimes I realize the valley is not outside me, but within me, the quiet struggle between fear and faith, between surrender and control, between what I want and what you will. It is an inner landscape where light and shadow coexist. In those moments, remind me that you are not asking for perfection, only presence. You are not waiting for me to be fearless, only faithful. Even when my heart wavers, your hand does not. Even when I cannot feel your nearness, you are closer than the next breath. The valley also teaches me gratitude. Father, gratitude for simple things, the sound of wind through trees, the warmth of morning light returning, the quiet assurance that I am still here, still held. Gratitude does not deny pain, it redeems it. When I thank you even in the valley, I reclaim what sorrow tried to steal. Gratitude turns the valley into holy ground. It reminds me that grace does not always remove difficulty. Sometimes it gives it meaning. Father, you are the shepherd who restores my soul. You lead me through shadows, not around them. You prepare a table even in the presence of fear. You remind me that no valley is too deep for your mercy to reach, no night too long for your dawn to break. Each step I take here becomes a testimony of trust, a silent hymn that says, even here, God is good. And the more I walk, the more I realize that the valley is not the end of the story. It is the middle of a miracle still unfolding. As I rise from this quiet moment, I feel a calm assurance settling into my spirit. The valley is no longer a place to escape, but a place to encounter. You meet me here not with lightning or thunder, but with presence. You do not pull me out of the shadows. You walk with me through them, transforming them into light. And as I walk, I notice that what once frightened me has become familiar. The darkness no longer threatens, for I carry the sunrise within. Father, thank you for this valley, for its quiet lessons, for its hidden grace, for the way it teaches me to depend on you more deeply. Let me emerge from it not bitter, but brighter, not fearful but full of faith. And when I meet others still wandering in their valleys, let the light you have kindled in me become a beacon for them too, a reminder that no shadow lasts forever, and that the one who walks beside us is greater than any darkness we pass through. Dear Heavenly Father, as I come to this quiet moment after the long journey of mornings, prayers, and awakenings, I feel a stillness unlike any before. It is not the stillness of exhaustion, but of peace fulfilled, of faith rooted, of love that has found its rhythm in the breath of each new day. From the first trembling words of despair to the steady confidence of trust, this path of prayer has changed me. Every chapter, every whisper, every tear offered in the quiet has carried me closer to you. And now, as the final light of this prayer rises within me, I realize that the end of the journey is not closure, it is continuation. The dawn is not an ending, it is a beginning. Father, the heart that began this journey was wary and afraid, uncertain and searching for direction. But you have walked beside me through valleys of shadow, through nights of doubt, through winds of change. Each morning you painted the sky anew, reminding me that no darkness can outlast the promise of light. I have learned that prayer is not a destination, but a dwelling place, a living conversation between Creator and creation, between infinite grace and fragile humanity. I no longer seek to escape the storm. I have learned to find you within it. Father, as the dawn stretches across the horizon of my soul, I feel gratitude rise like sunlight, gratitude for the trials that refined me, for the silences that taught me to listen, for the tears that watered the seeds of faith, for the laughter that proved joy can coexist with sorrow. You have taken what was broken and turned it into something sacred. You have shown me that faith is not found in never falling, but in always returning and standing again with open hands, trusting that your mercy meets me there every time. I see now that every morning prayer has been a mirror of the heart, reflection of the ongoing transformation of spirit. Where there was once restlessness, there is now rhythm. Where there was once fear, there is peace that cannot be shaken. Where there was once longing for answers, there is trust in the one who holds all mysteries. Prayer has become less about asking and more about abiding. It has become the steady pulse of love between heaven and earth. Father, as I speak these words, I feel the world outside awakening. The wind moves softly through the trees. The first warmth of sunlight begins to touch the earth. It feels like you breathing through creation, renewing, restoring, reminding us that life never stops, beginning again. The same spirit that stirred the waters of the beginning stirs within me now, whispering that every ending in you is simply a doorway into something new. I think of all the souls who walk through mornings of doubt and nights of silence, searching for something they cannot name. To them, Father, send this prayer as light. Let it reach hearts that feel forgotten, hands that feel empty, lives that feel unseen. Let it remind them that you are closer than they know, that no distance is too great for grace to cross. Let it tell them that faith does not erase struggle, it transforms it into strength, into wisdom, into worship. Father, I no longer fear the unknown. The path ahead is not clear, but it is held. I do not need to see the whole journey to trust the guide who walks before me. I only need to take the next step with faith, to keep listening for your voice in the wind, to keep letting your light guide the shadows of my mind. You have taught me that trust is not the absence of uncertainty. It is the presence of love that outlasts it. The world will continue to turn, Father, and I will wake again tomorrow to another morning full of both mystery and mercy. There will be days when faith feels strong and days when it trembles. But I know now that trembling faith is still faith, that weakness does not cancel worth, that every breath can be a prayer if is offered with sincerity. Even when I cannot find the words, you understand the language of my heart. That truth alone is enough to keep me walking, to keep me believing, to keep me returning to this sacred place of conversation with you. Father, thank you for being patient when I doubted, gentle when I resisted, and steadfast when I wandered. Thank you for reminding me that no prayer is wasted, no moment unnoticed, no life beyond your reach. I am learning that holiness is not found in grand gestures, but in small, faithful acts done in love. It is found in forgiveness offered quietly, in kindness given freely, in gratitude spoken softly beneath the sky. And now, Father, as I come to the close of this journey of words, I know it is not truly a close at all. Every sunrise will continue this conversation. Every morning light will echo these prayers in new forms. I will wake again tomorrow, perhaps with new burdens, but also with new mercy waiting at my bedside. The story of faith never ends, it unfolds endlessly in the rhythm of grace. To those who have listened, who have walked this path of prayer with me, I want to thank you from the deepest place of my heart. Thank you for choosing to rise early with faith, for letting these words touch your mornings, for allowing them to meet you where you are. Every breath you have shared in reflection, every quiet nod of the soul has joined this prayer in ways unseen. You are part of this sacred journey, and your presence has given it life. I invite you now to share your own reflections, your own prayers, your own whispers of faith below. Let this not be a monologue, but a gathering of hearts, each one shining its light into the collective dawn. Your words might be the sunrise someone else has been waiting for. If this journey has moved your spirit, I ask that you carry it forward by sharing these prayers, by letting them reach others who may need a reminder of hope. Subscribe, stay connected, and walk with us each morning as we continue seeking renewal in the quiet hours. Let us keep growing together, one sunrise at a time, strengthening our faith not through perfection, but through persistence. And as I finish speaking, I feel the morning fully awaken. The first golden light spreads gently across the earth, touching leaves, rooftops, and hearts alike. The air is cool and alive, carrying a promise that today, too, will be filled with grace. The world is stirring, and within that soft light, I sense the unending presence of your love flowing like living water, steady and eternal, welcoming all who thirst for peace to come and drink again.